Donald Trump makes these bold statements on a regular basis, and then there's no follow-up. People have just completely caved on the issue. Like, he could just say whatever the he wants, and zero people will be like, okay, that seems like a good idea. How would you do it? Will there be a fact check on this? Nah. I'm saying it. Anyway, we're gonna do the Lex Fridman pod. I don't know if it's in here. Is it out yet? It is. It's only an hour, and we'll dive into this now. Lex Fridman, after doing 4 hours with Jank, Uncle Chunk Weigert did an hour with Donalde. Okay, the Don. It's not going to be an hour-long experience. Okay.
But some people call you a fascist.
Yeah, they do. So I figure it's all right to call them a communist. Yeah, they call me a lot worse than I call them.
A lot of people listening to this, myself included, that doesn't think that Kamala is a communist.
I believe you have to fight fire with fire.
Politics is a dirty game.
It is a dirty game.
Oh, wow. Brilliant analysis, Lex. Thank you.
It's certainly true.
How do you win at that game?
They suffer from massive Trump derangement syndrome, TDS, and I don't know if it's curable from their standpoint.
I think we'd probably have a better world if everybody in Congress took some mushrooms, perhaps.
First of all,
what the is this Joe Rogan ass convo, bro? What is happening? Are these cuts? Like, is Donald Trump stoned? What is happening? Why is he so low energy? What the hell's going on with this convo, dude?
Medical marijuana has
I gotta pee. Hold on.
Amazing. It's been, I've had friends and I've had others and doctors telling me that it's been absolutely amazing.
The list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it?
The following is a conversation with Donald Trump on the Lex Fridman podcast.
They're getting smaller and smaller.
They're getting smaller.
Right?
I mean, people do respect you more when you have a big camera for some reason.
No, it's cool. And about 20 guys that you pay a fortune to, right?
All right. Okay. You said that you love winning, and you have won a lot in life, in real estate, in business, in TV, in politics. So let me start with a mindset, a psychology question. What drives you more, the love of winning or the hate of losing?
Maybe equally, maybe both. I don't like losing, and I do like winning. I've never thought of it as to which is more of a driving force.
You've been close with a lot of the greats in sport. You think about Tiger Woods, Muhammad Ali. You have people like Michael Jordan, who I think hate losing more than anybody. So what do you learn from those guys?
Well, they do have something different. You know, the great champions have something very different, like the sports champions. And, you know, you have champions in other fields, but you see it more readily in sports. You see it over a weekend, or you see it during a game. And you see that certain people stand out, and they keep standing out. But it's there for you. It doesn't take a lifetime to find out that somebody was a winner or a loser. And so the sports thing is...
I'm going to warn you that this interview is going to infuriate you a lot. I mean, it already has pissed me off. It started off with a bunch of silly-ass takes, so...
It's very interesting, but, you know, I play golf with different people, and there's a different mindset among champions. There's really a very different mindset. There's a different thought process. You know, talent-wise, sometimes you can't tell the difference in talent, but at the end of a weekend, they seem to win. And it's very interesting. Like, as an example, Tiger or Jack Nicklaus, he was...
Are you not a Trump tard anymore? Yeah, I'm going to ban you. 6-month subscriber. You can suck my dick, dude. Like, the level of liberalism that you're demonstrating right there means that you are no longer welcome in this community. Okay? Sorry. It's just like, I don't want you in here. You're such an annoying, whiny, little smarmy liberal, the absolute worst type of liberal out there. Okay? If you've been a 6-month subscriber and at any point, even ironically, you thought that I was like a legitimate Trump supporter, you're a smarmy liberal dipshit who cries regularly because I criticize the Democratic Party You're exactly that same type of smarmy liberal dipshit that was like, we can't. You want Trump to win. That's why you want Biden to get out of the race. Okay? Bill Maher ass, dumb. No, I definitely prefer hogs to dumbass liberals like that. Straight up. I can convert hogs. People that are like firmly planted on the Democratic Party in the most like liberal ways possible. Like if you come in here and you accuse me of being a Trump supporter, you're lost in the sauce, okay?
A phenomenal winner. And he does have a different way about him. And Tiger has a different way about him. And Michael Jordan. And there's never one, you would think that there'd be one way. Arnold Palmer was the nicest guy you'd ever meet. And then you have some champions that aren't really nice. They're just focused on doing their job. So you have, there's not one type of person. But
when I use a cup, it's because I'm saving the environment by not using a cup.
The one thing I would say that everybody seems to have in common is they're very driven. They're driven like beyond.
They don't seem to give up easily.
They don't give up. They don't give up, but they do seem to be, they have a passion that's maybe more than people that don't do as well.
You've said that politics is a dirty game in the past.
It is a dirty game. It's certainly true.
So if it is a game, how do you win at that game?
Well, you win at that game by getting the word out and by using sense. You have to have a feeling where it's going. You also have to have a feeling of what's right. You can't necessarily just go what's popular. You have to do what's good for a country if you're talking about countries. But you have to get the word out, and you have to just continuously, like, for instance, you have a great show. You have a great podcast. It's very well watched. And I'm sitting here and I do this. A lot of people see it. And I do other things, and a lot of people see that. And I go traditional also. You have traditional television, which is getting a little bit older and maybe less significant, could be less significant. I don't know, but it's changing a lot. The whole plane of platform is changing a lot. It's changed a lot in the last 2-3 years. But from a political standpoint, you have to find out what people are doing, what they're watching, and you have to get it. You have to get on. I just see that these platforms are starting to dominate. They're getting very big numbers. I did Spaces with Elon.
What the f does that
and
have
they
to do
got
with
numbers
anything?
like nobody's ever heard before.
What does this have to do with anything, bro? He's just doing a reverse glaze. This is Donald Trump reverse glazing Lex and like independent media in general.
So, this is, you wouldn't do that on like radio. You wouldn't do that, those numbers, no matter how good a show, you wouldn't do those.
That's idiotic. You're insane. Of course you do those numbers on radio. What the f are you talking about? And also, radio wouldn't have the same issues that Elon Musk had on Twitter. I really, this is so stupid, dude. It's so dumb. It's so wrong.
Those numbers on radio, you wouldn't do them on television.
You've been successful in business. You've been successful in politics. What do you think is the difference between gaining success between the two different disparate worlds?
Yeah, and they're different, very different. I have a lot of people that are in business that are successful, and they'd like to go over to politics. And then you realize they can't speak. They choke. It's hard to make a speech in front of that. Let's say you're talking about a big audience, but I get very big audiences. And, for many people, it's virtually impossible to get up and speak for an hour and a half and have nobody leave. It's not an easy thing to do. And it's an ability. But I have many people that are very, very successful in business, would love to do what I did. And yet they can't pull the trigger. And in many cases, I don't think it would work. Almost for everybody, it's not going to work. It's a very tough thing to do. It's a big transition. And now, if you talked about people in the business and politics going into business, likewise, that wouldn't generally work out so well either. It's different talents. It's different skills. I have somebody who wants to go into politics so bad, but he's got a little problem. He's got stage fright. Now, He's a total killer. But if he gets up into a stage in front of people, he doesn't do well, to put it mildly, actually. I mean, he does badly.
So you have to be able to make hard decisions like you do in business, but also be able to captivate an audience.
Look, if you're a politician, you have to be able to speak in front of large crowds. There are a lot of people who can't do that. I've seen it. They can't even think about doing it. And they don't. There are many people in business right now. I could name them, but I don't want to embarrass anybody. They've been talking about running for president for 15 years. And they're very big in business, very well known, actually. But it takes guts to run. Like for president, I can tell you it takes guts to run. It's also a very dangerous profession, if you want to know the truth, but dangerous in a different sense, too. But it takes a lot of courage to run for president. It's not easy, but you have, and you know, the same people as I do, there are a lot of people that would like to run for president that are very, very successful in business, but they don't have the guts to do it.
Dude, this is boring as dude. That's crazy. I'm not alone in this, right? Like, this is, this got no juice, dude. This has zero juice. It is so bad. He's like, oh yeah, people are too afraid of running for president. I'm not. It's very scary. It's not boring at all. Really? I would love to examine your brain chatter. Holy I want to know. I want to know what has happened. Yeah, the Theo Von one was like way more interesting because like it's not worse than the other interview, but it does make him seem normal. No, the Theo Von one was like interesting because Theo Von is like an entertaining person, and it unironically humanized him more. I think this is just like boring. He's like, oh, people can't talk in front of an audience for an hour and 30 minutes. It's like, this just sucks, dude.
And they have to give up a lot.
One of the great things about people from the business world is they're often great deal makers. And you're a great deal maker. And you've talked about the war in Ukraine and that you would be able to find a deal that both Putin and Zelensky would accept. What do you think that deal looks like?
I think the deal, and I wouldn't talk about it too much because I think I can make a deal. If I win as president-elect, I'll have a deal made, guaranteed. That's a war that shouldn't have happened. It's terrible. Look, Biden is the worst president in the history of our country, and she's probably worse than him. That's something that should have never happened, but it did happen.
Dog, I genuinely don't understand how like Lex conducts these interviews where he will just like say certain things. Like, I know he's like the only centrist in the country, okay? Like the actual centrist, okay? Because he'll do this and then he'll talk to like a straight up communist and say the exact same like glaze and praise, right? Like, I'm 100% certain that if he talked to Kamala Harris, I suspect he would do this exact same thing. Like, he would say something along the lines of like, you know, you did a great job as you know, many people say you did a great job as vice president or some shit. You know what I mean? Because like it's like a robotic formula, basically, the way that he conducts these interviews. The thing I don't understand, however, is that like, how can you say that with a serious face that Donald Trump would be like, you're the great deal maker? Like, what do you mean? What deals has he made, dude? He has like 8 bankruptcies. What? Can you name some of the great deals that he has made? I don't think he's done any good deals at all. How is Trump not a great deal maker? Explain. Okay, but how can you hate on Trump being a good deal maker? He left the White House much richer than he entered. That's a heck of a deal. Yeah, but those bankruptcy deals be banging. It just doesn't make sense.
Happen. And now it's a much tougher deal to make than it would have been before it started. Millions of people. I think the number is going to be a lot higher when you see this all at some point iron out. I think the death numbers are going to be a lot higher than people think.
This is one of the things that annoys the shit out of me. This is one of the things that annoys the living shit out of me, where like Donald Trump can make these like bold statements. Okay. Donald Trump makes these bold statements on a regular fucking basis. And then there's no follow up. There's no like, how are you going to do this? There's never even a, how are you going to pay for it? People have just completely caved on the issue. Like, he could just say whatever the fuck he wants, and 0 people will be like, okay, that seems like a good idea. How would you do it? Like, nobody asked him this shit. The fuck going on? And it's wild because like on the other side, you got Kamala Harris can have like a decent policy, and immediately they're like, how are you going to pay for it? And then she describes like, you know, price gouging, which is vague still, right? And how they're going to follow through on the price gouging, like going after price gouging corporations and those promises. And then she'll give like a wishy-washy answer on that. And then people are like, okay, well, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to do this? Yada, yada, yada. Like there is definitely, if I am to look at it seriously, there is definitely a lot of advantages that you get on the Republican side when you're running for office in terms of like how much your policies are called into question. Whereas like Democrats being the adult in the room obviously get that adult in the room benefit in terms of like the way people analyze them in the polls, in terms of like the way people vote for the Democratic Party versus the Republican Party, but also simultaneously like they get a shit ton more scrutiny in general. It is a little annoying to see that double standard in the media in general. Whereas like for Donald Trump, he'll say something one day and say the exact opposite a couple hours later, and the media will report it as he just said two different things, but never like follow through directly on like where he lands on an issue. And they'll just kind of drop it because he has so successfully evaded ever answering any sort of like policy related issues with a firm commitment. You know, he is more evasive than subscribers at the top of the hour when there is a 3-minute ad break. One of Trump's biggest deals was the Abraham Accords. Kushner said he ended the Arab-Israel conflict in 2021, so he's a great deal maker. Yeah, it's true. He did do the Abraham Accords, which was great. It's October 6, 2023, and honestly, things are looking really good in the Middle East. Hopefully, nothing crazy happens. Okay? As a hog, explain to me how the Republicans have an advantage. Leftists run the media in this country. Leftists run the media in this country? You think CNN is leftist, like as in socialist? Like you think liberal media, and there is a reality there, okay? Liberal media that refuses to have a singular leftist opinion on. Liberals equals leftists? Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad that you also recognize that you're a hog. And then you just doubled down and said liberals equals leftists. No, dog. Liberals are not leftists. Have you ever seen, like, who is the most, also liberals like to run the top of the hour ad break? Okay, shut up. I already ran the 3-minute ad break. Okay? This is a sock account, obviously. No two-parters. I mean, look at just what happened for this question. He was asked, what are the details of how you're going to get peace in Ukraine? He was just went, it's a bad war. Biden is bad next. No follow-up, no pressure. One of the only times where I've ever seen Trump be held accountable for his statements was, and this is like, this experience lives in my mind, was the Axios interview he did with Jonathan Swan in the midst of COVID. Do you remember? When like Jonathan, when the Axios interviewer just straight up was like, okay, well, you're wrong. Here's how you're wrong. And he held him accountable for the statements that he made. When you're so far gone on the right wing, some center right news media looks like radical left. Holy shit. It ends up making good content in general too. So I think that like liberal media should probably do that a little bit more. And Axios is obviously center right, by the way. Axios is a center right publication. That's why Donald Trump gave them the interview, which was a mistake for him at the end of the day because he actually was held accountable.
When you take a look at the destruction and the buildings coming down all over the place in Ukraine, I think those numbers are going to be a lot higher. They lie about the numbers. They try and keep them low. They knock down a building that's 2 blocks long. These are big buildings. And they say one person was mildly injured. No. A lot of people were killed. And there are people in those buildings, and they have no chance. Once they start coming down, there's no chance. So
he's not talking about Gaza. He's talking about Ukraine.
So that's a war that absolutely has to get done. And then you have
Eduardo 32,
Israel, and then you have a lot of other places that are talking war. The world is a rough place right now. And a lot of it's because of the fact that America has no leadership. And I believe that she'll be probably worse than Biden. I watched the interview the other night. I mean, it was just a softball interview.
So you would like to see her do more interviews, challenged more?
I don't know. I can't believe the whole thing is happening. We had a man in there that should have never been in there. They kept them in a basement. They used COVID. They cheated, but they used COVID to cheat. And they cheated without COVID too. But you had somebody in there, and now we have a woman that is not. I mean, she couldn't do an interview. This was a really soft interview. This is an interview where they're given a multiple choice questions, multiple guesses. I call it multiple guess. And I don't think she did well. I think she did very poorly.
How do you think you'll do in the debate coming up? It's in a few days.
So I've done a lot of debating, only as a politician. I never debated. My first debate was the Rosie O'Donnell debate, right? The famous Rosie O'Donnell debate, the answer. But I've done well with debates. I mean, I became president. And then the second time, I got millions more votes than I got the first time. I was told if I got 63 million, which is what I got the first time, you would win. You can't not win. And I got millions of more votes than that, and lost by.
Damn, man. If only. Oh shit, he's admitting he lost. If only there was like I don't know, like a crazy world-changing global event that occurred that also caused the American government to open up the way that people vote, you know, universal ballot registration, universal access, mail-in ballots across the board, which allowed a lot more people to vote for the Republican Party, but also a lot more people to vote for the Democratic Party.
A whisker, and look what happened to the world with all of the wars and all of the problems, and look what happened with inflation, because inflation's just eating up our country, eating it up. So it's too bad, but there are a lot of things that could happen. We have to get those wars settled. We have to get, I'll tell you, you have to get Ukraine done. That could end up in a third world war. So could the Middle East. So
maybe let's talk about what it takes to negotiate with somebody like Putin or Zelensky. Do you think Putin would be willing to give up any of the regions they already captured?
I don't know. I can tell you that all of this would have never happened, and it would have been very easy, because you don't have, like, that question wouldn't be asked. You know, that's a tougher question. Once that starts happening, because he has taken over a lot of territory. Now, I guess they're insurgents now too, right? So, you know, it's a little bit interesting that's happening, and that it can happen. And it's interesting that Putin has allowed that to happen. Look, that's one that should have never started. We have to get it stopped. Ukraine is being demolished. They're destroying a great culture that's largely destroyed.
What do you think works better in those kinds of negotiations? Leverage of, let's say, friendship, the carrot or the stick? Friendship, or sort of the threat of using the economic and military power?
So it depends on who the person is. Everyone's different. Negotiation's interesting because it depends on who the person is. And then you have to guess or know through certain knowledge which is, more important, the carrot or the stick. And with some people it's the stick, and with some people it's the carrot. I think the stick probably is generally more successful in that, we're talking about war. But the kind of destruction that we're witnessing now, nobody's ever seen. I mean, it's a terrible thing, and we're witnessing it all over. We're witnessing it in all parts of the world, and a lot of things are going to get started. Look what's going on.
He says the most basic things, talks like a child. How do people take him seriously? I don't get it. I don't think you understand. Like, one, a lot of people are just stupid. And he communicates to stupid people very well. The basic advantage that he has in this situation is that, yes, a lot of wars have happened under the Biden regime. Some are directly the fault and responsibility of Biden in terms of its continuation. Others aren't necessarily all his fault, but he 100% can take advantage of that. Just like Joseph Robinette Biden was able to take advantage of the fact that COVID happened under Donald Trump. Okay? Holy f***, this stream is an echo chamber. I love people coming in with like that. This is my favorite type of chatter. Okay. This is what we need more of. I love this kind of guy significantly more than the annoying liberals. Okay. Until he just, chirps about some weird racist shit. But like, it's great. Love that. We want this to not be an echo chamber chatter, so we welcome you in here, okay? We welcome your unique perspective, your unique framework. Anyway, having said that, however, getting back to what Donald Trump is saying, I think he does a pretty solid job. I think he does a pretty solid job of communicating that, like, yeah, I'm going to be the peace candidate. Is that true? Of course not. But does it matter? No. In terms of like winning the narrative on key issues, he does a great job in comparison to the Democratic Party, which has completely lost the we are the peace party narrative. It's very odd. Detroit, Michigan judge rules Robert F. Kennedy Jr. must remain on the ballot in battleground state. Biden should remain as well. Yeah, that's not how that works, big dog. He was running for president. Biden was not. The DNC needed to happen for the confirmation to occur. You can't just like put someone on the ballot before the party confirms who their candidate is. Anyway, Trump is quiet quitting. Trump does not have a single campaign event this week, according to his website. His next scheduled public appearance is Saturday in Wisconsin. Do those Zins ever give you mad anxiety? Nope.
On with China. Look at Japan. They're starting to rearm now. They're starting to rearm because China's getting, taking over certain islands. And there's a lot of danger in the war right now in the world. There's a great possibility of World War III. And we better get this thing done fast because 5 months with people like her and him, he's checked out. He just goes to the beach and thinks he looks good in a bathing suit, which he doesn't. He's sort of checked out. Hey, look, you can't blame him. That was a coup. They took it over. They took over the presidential deal. The whole presidential thing was taken over in a coup. He had 14 million votes. She had no votes, not one. And nobody thought it was going to be her. Nobody wanted it to be her. She was a joke until 6 weeks ago when they said we're going to have to, politically, they felt they had to pick her. And if they didn't pick her, they thought there'd be a problem. I don't know if that's right or not. I actually don't think it's right, but, they thought it was right. And now immediately the press comes to their aid.
If we can go back to China on negotiation, how do we avoid war with China in the 21st century?
Well, there are ways now. Here's the problem. If I tell you how, and I'd love to do it, but if I give you a plan, like I have a very exacting plan how to stop Ukraine and Russia, and I have a certain idea, maybe not a plan, but an idea for China, because we're in a lot of trouble. They'll be in a lot of trouble too, but we're in a lot of trouble. But I can't give you those plans because if I give you those plans, I'm not going to be able to use them. They'll be very unsuccessful. Part of it's surprise, right?
Right.
But they won't be able to help us much.
So you have a plan of what to say to Putin.
Yeah, I know.
When you take
exactly.
office.
No, I had a very good relationship with him, and I had a good relationship with Zelensky too, but I had a very good relationship with Putin.
Tough topic, but important. You said lost by a whisker. I'm an independent. I have a lot of friends who are independent, many of whom like your policies,
Wow. So you guys aren't independent. Okay, got it. I love Americans and their belief that, like, dude, so many Americans just say they're independent and then turn around and be like, but I really like your policies. Like, what policies then? What policies do you like as an independent? The thing I will never understand is, I mean, I guess like they like the massive tax cuts that rich people got. Is that what it is? It's just people who are too embarrassed to admit they're Republican. Yeah. You can be independent and like someone's policies. Dude, the difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party when you remove all of the flavoring is that the Democrats offer less tax cuts, but still offer tax cuts and deregulation. The Republicans offer broader tax cuts and more deregulation. But the major difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party is that the Republicans will consistently say it's black and brown people that are causing your life to be shit, and we're going to put harm on them. we're going to do harm to them directly, and then that will magically make your life better, which it never does, but they still say it anyway, and they still make you believe it. That's the major difference. And it's not like the Democrats don't continue along with policies that harm black and brown people either. They do. They just don't present it as like the major difference. And that's the big difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. One runs forwardly with harm specifically to black and brown communities. Okay, don't you think Republicans do any policies that centralists can like? What is a centralist? You mean centrist? Huh. What is a centrist? Like, just dive deep into that statement, because you're just kind of saying that because you've heard it before. What does a centrist mean? Okay, what does a centrist mean? Think about it. Like, what are you on the center on? Chatterism, Marxist, Leninist, and hiding? No, it's just not like a real thing. People just say it. Okay, Lex Fridman is one of the only people. Yeah, centrist is a person who is smart. Rights and lefts are both dumb and wrong. Yeah, thank you. Stop illegal immigration. Tax cuts, don't take guns. Some policies are good, some are bad. Abortion. See, this is what I mean. It's like, one, you have no idea what you're talking about. You have just adopted the right-wing framing on this issue. Stop illegal immigration. The largest amnesty proposal ever given, the largest amnesty ever given to undocumented migrants in this on U.S. soil was given by Ronald fucking Reagan. Okay, that's number one. Beyond that, it's not like the Democrats are pro undocumented migration into this country any more than the Republicans are. Okay, the real secret is that both parties are pretty restrictive when it comes to undocumented immigration, and not only that, but also that is what allows Donald Trump to say things like, we're doing child separation, but who built the cages? Barack Obama, which is true. Barack Obama did build the cages. Donald Trump used them. Ultimately, though, okay, neither party is saying we are pro illegal immigration. That's not a real thing. And neither party actually is. They're both very draconian, very restrictive. The reality, on the other hand, however, is that the reason why they are restrictive on immigration is so that there are people that come into the country knowing full well, we all know that they're going to come into the country regardless, okay, that we can abuse and use and hyper exploit, even more so than the documented U.S. labor pool, which is already pretty heavily exploited. That's it. That's the real reason why we have immigration laws in the restrictive white nativist ways that we have them. Okay? It's not a real one benefits from illegal immigration a lot more than the other, and it's pretty clear. What do you mean? Are you now going to run with this narrative that illegal immigrants are actually secretly voting for the Democrats? Is that what you're about to say? Is the only group that actually benefits from illegal immigration are capital owners. Capital owners who love talking about how undocumented Democrats definitely want the vote in the future. Really? You think undocumented migrants are actually getting citizenship in this country left and right? Is that what you think? And then those guys are then turning around and voting for the Democratic Party? They can't vote. Did DACA not happen? You have an issue with babies that were brought over the border? That's like 500,000 total votes, by the way. And I don't even think DACA recipients can, can you even vote on DACA? DACA is 90% of 90. DACA has 90% approval rating, which means Republicans and Democrats both agree that yes, if you are a childhood arrival, they can't even vote. But if you had if you came over the U.S. border as like a 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 14-year-old, okay, and this is the only country that you know, it is unimaginably inhumane to literally ship your ass back to a random country that you have no association with. That's precisely the reason why, regardless of what you're saying in here, it's got 90% approval rating, as in Republicans like it too, not just Democrats, okay? But remember, you started off by claiming that you were a centrist, and now you're taking an anti-DACA position. Do you think that you're on the center of this conversation, or do you think you're on the far right of this conversation? So unimaginably far right that like you are literally outflanking the overwhelming majority of Republican voters in general when you say, DACA happened. Do you even know what DACA is? Yeah, and no, you cannot vote as a DACA recipient. The Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program established in 2012 provides temporary protection from deportation and work authorization to eligible young immigrants. There are approximately 800,000 DACA recipients in the U.S. DACA recipients are not eligible to vote in the U.S., so you were wrong on that front too. So unless you think there is like secretly a shit ton of undocumented and even like temporarily documented, but formerly undocumented immigrants in this country that are secretly voting, and they're secretly voting for the Democratic Party, which there is no proof for, by the way, and only evidence to suggest the exact opposite, you're just running on fumes, running on right-wing delusions. Okay? Where did this guy go? The irony, of course, is that especially when you look at like recent migrants, documented migrants in general, and what is this? A centrist is someone who isn't deeply ideologically committed to conservatism or progressive and instead works to extract truths on either side cooks up. In my honest opinion as a centralist, this person is a memer, by the way. I don't think they're being serious. Yeah. I didn't claim I was a centrist. I'm independent. I voted for Obama the first time. Was DACA not a pathway to citizenship? Thought it was touted that way. It's not. It just offers the opportunity for people who were brought into the United States borders as a minor the opportunity to work, okay? The opportunity to get an education. They can't even leave the country. They have so many goddamn restrictions. You were wrong. Will this change your will this change your analysis in any capacity? Probably not. There should be a pathway to citizenship for DACA recipients. That's also pretty popular as well. You have to have you cannot have any sort of criminal record if you're a DACA recipient. And you get, I mean, you're heavily restricted. You can't even leave the country. There is an unimaginable amount of restrictions on it. You can go to college and work, though. So there you go. If you're a Republican and anti-immigration, you just need one trip to Florida to find out that it's illegal overstayers that brought their marriages that keep Florida red. I mean, there's also, my best friend is DACA, you absolute piece of shit. You have no clue how hard it is on them. Literally every aspect of their life is restricted. Yeah. I'm a DACA recipient, and it is the worst legal way to grant undocumented people the right to work. I can't even work jobs that require residency. We need to reform now. Talk about it more. I do. I talk about it quite frequently. They pay taxes. They have an endless amount of restrictions. It's complete hell. They can't leave the goddamn country. They can't even have a smidge on their goddamn criminal record. Okay? Still, harder on immigration, tax cuts, no gun control. Yeah, bro. Your harder on immigration narrative falls apart the moment that you learn what the things you're talking about are. You're harder on immigration. Why? And you haven't even presented how Democrats are not hard on immigration. They are unimaginably hard on immigration. The real question to ask you is, why do you think immigrants that are coming into this country are actually harming the United States of America? Because they're not. There's no evidence to suggest that they do. As a matter of fact, they literally are the reason why we have been able to overcome the problem that many developed nations inevitably run into, which is birth rates. Okay? They keep the country young. The Democrats ran on Trump being scary for immigrants in 2020. What the reality is this? The Democrats ran on Trump doing unimaginably cruel things to immigrants, which he did. The Democrats should continue running on that because he wants to do mass deportation. That means SWAT teams doing dragnets in brown neighborhoods, okay? That is 15 million people living on U.S. soil that work jobs that is necessary for your survival, getting ripped away from their homes and being kicked out of the country and placed in concentration camps, okay? The real solution to the undocumented immigration problem, when there is no real problem, is to offer them citizenship and document them and process them so they can participate in the labor force in the exact same ways that documented U.S. labor participates in the labor force. And also, you know, allow them to unionize alongside everyone else. Another fun fact about this, if undocumented immigrants were given legal status, tax contributions could increase by 2.1 million and the national tax rate average would increase by 9 million. 15 million, no problem, turn them into citizens. Why do you think that there's a problem with that? Why do you think there is a problem with that? Centrist chatter. Remember, you're a centrist, right? Or an independent. Why do you think there's a problem? Tell me exactly why there is an issue with documenting and processing all of those people. 15 million is a big problem. is a big number. How is it not a problem? I have no concept of it. Okay, stop LARPing as a centrist, pop-up chachu, or whatever the fuck your name is. Okay, you're annoying me. I'm already dealing with a real one. Why do I think there's a problem with 50 million people coming here illegally and given a blank slate? What do you mean a blank slate? How do you think processing works? And what is the blank slate? Do you think that automatically all 15 million people that have actually come into the United States of America are like, engaging in criminal activity? And don't say they crossed the border. That is a crime. Okay. So was jaywalking. Suck my dick. Give me an answer. What is the punishment for coming illegally in your plan? Why should there be a punishment for coming here illegally in my plan? They've already suffered enough. You're not answering my question. What have they done wrong? 15 million people. What have they done wrong? Absolutely not. I'm just saying, if you reward breaking the law, you get lawbreakers. That is ridiculous. You're still avoiding the question. What have they done wrong? What is the problem with migrants? Okay. You slap on undocumented or illegal in front of it and then expect people to be like, yeah, I agree with you. There's something wrong with that. Okay. What have they done wrong? Without undocumented migrants, by the way, you would not have an agricultural business in this country. You would not have any of the treats that you currently get at the price points that you get. Okay. That's the other side of this conversation. There would be no construction. There would be no agribusiness in this country. There would be nothing. Okay. No chicken plants, no poultry facilities, no meat plants, nothing. But what do you think is the issue? What do you think they are doing wrong? Just say it with your chest. I need to know. They enter the country illegally. They artificially lower the cost of labor. They abandon their own country. First of all, they abandon their own country. You don't give a fuck about their country. Don't act like you care. Don't come in here with that cynical bullshit. They abandoned their own country. Okay? Ridiculous. They entered the country illegally. Okay? Misdemeanor. Doesn't matter. Who gives a fuck? They artificially lower the cost of labor. This is the only thing that you brought up that is correct. However, there is a solution to this not being an issue. And I already told you what that is. Currently, as it stands, there's two tiers in the American labor force. You have the undocumented labor force and you have the documented labor force. Okay? They pay into taxes. They don't even get the social safety nets that others can get. Okay? Like documented U.S. citizens can get. They would be paying more in taxes if they were documented. Okay? But not only that, you're right. The never-ending pool of undocumented labor actually does artificially lower the cost of labor. Okay? This is true. The solution to that isn't to purge the country of 15 million people. The solution to that is to process them. Okay? That's it. That's how it works. That's why I knew that this was inevitably going to come up, because it is true. The solution to that is to document them and allow them to participate in the documented labor force and unionize. Okay? It's that simple. The solution to control the flow of people in the country through visas and not take people illegally border hopping. If there was a more meaningful reform on the way that migrants get processed and refugees get processed in this country, no one would be illegally entering the nation. Okay? And as it stands, more than 50%, the majority of undocumented migrants living on U.S. soil are not actually crossing the border. They're not hopping the border in the way that you think. They're actually visa overstayers. So they're literally flying into the country through the visa process anyway. But then the visa process ends up not offering them a meaningful pathway to citizenship. They should do that. Okay? Now, having said that, once again, you're talking about the solution to control the flow of the people without responding to what I just told you. They'd lower the cost of labor. Okay, that's a real problem. Then document them. Why do you have an issue with that? If your problem is that they are artificially lowering the cost of labor, which is not their fault, then the government solution is to not deport them, but instead to document them, right? What do you mean by document them? The only difference between an undocumented migrant and any other kind of migrant is paperwork, chatter. That's what I mean by document them. I have a problem with it because it addresses a symptom of the issue and doesn't anything to do with stop flow. What do you mean stop flow? What you still have yet to explain to me what the problem is in terms of migrants coming into the United States of America. Okay? You said there is, out of all of the things that you brought forward, there's only one that is actually a valid concern. I addressed your valid point of concern. You didn't actually have anything to say about that. And then you turned around and said, oh, but there's going to be a flow. There's going to be a flow of migrants. What is the problem with migrants coming into the United States of America? What is the problem with migrants coming into the United States of America? What is the problem? Just say it. You obviously have these very strong issues. You have these strong, firm held positions. You should not have a problem explaining exactly what it is. Taxes, lower wages, loss of shared national identity. Taxes, lower wages, loss of shared identity. Okay, let's address it. Taxes, you're absolutely wrong on. Not only are you wrong, I already told you, undocumented migrants literally give more to the system than they actually take out. So you're wrong about that. Completely wrong about that. Secondly, if they were documented, they'd give even more taxes to the system. As far as lower wages goes, we already addressed it. The problem there in terms of lower wages actually stems from the government not really allowing people to unionize and take a higher percentage of the profits that they are generating for corporations. Okay? It's the same principle for documented migrants, the same principle for undocumented migrants. It's the same principle for natural born U.S. citizens. Okay? Every single person, regardless of where they were born, has the exact same issue. Now, as far as loss of shared national identity goes, that is hokum. Okay? There are studies conducted on this as well. By second generation, every single migrant group that has come into this country has almost entirely assimilated to American culture. And by the third generation, there is virtually no distinction between any migrant population. At that point, they're also like American citizens as well, obviously. The United States is a land of migrants. It's comprised entirely of migrants in general, okay, from all different parts of this planet. As far as like loss of national shared identity, that's ridiculous. That's not a real thing. It's a completely made up notion, okay? And you literally know people like this in your life because this is a land comprised of immigrants, okay? How many people do you think you know that have parents that are first generation? How many people do you think you know that you talk to on a daily basis that have parents that are first generation immigrants? You are currently talking to someone who came to this country. I'm a natural born U.S. citizen because I'm an anchor baby, but I came to this country at the age of 18. I am virtually indistinguishable from the average American. But beyond that, about 10 of my friends, exactly. Would you say that they are not Americanized? Would you say that about 10 of your friends are contributing to a loss of shared national identity, or 10 of your friends are completely Americanized? You grew up with these people. You literally live this on a daily basis, but people in the media tell you that it's actually not the case. So who are you going to trust? Your own personal anecdotal evidence, your own personal experience with people that you know? Okay? I would say the conditions they grew up in are a lot different than the communities being established today. No, dog. You are just being taught to believe that the conditions are different today. Okay? Yes, dog. Dude, don't be annoying. I'm treating you with respect and dignity. Don't turn around and be like, yes, dog. Like you genuinely do not have a fundamental premise that you're operating off of that is born out of the reality. You are literally experiencing reality, and then people are telling you something that is not corresponding to what your experience is, and now you're trying to make up for that contradiction by just continuing along with the falsehood. Your own personal experiences literally destroy this argument that you are currently presenting. Okay? Don't be bad faith. Conditions are different. No, they're not. There is no difference in term. And by the way, there's evidence for this. There's studies on this. Okay? There are studies on this. By the third generation, with educational attainment, with job retention, and every other kind of experience, by the third generation, there is virtually no difference between a migrant, someone who is 2 generations removed from like coming into the United States than anybody else. Okay. As a matter of fact, you probably are 2 or 3, maybe 4 generations removed from being a migrant. That's it. So many Americans are quite literally, so many white Americans are quite literally 4, 5, 6 generations removed from being a migrant. Nah, I've been here since Jesus. What? The fuck does that even mean? What are you Native American? Like, what are you talking about? Or, oh my God, are you Mormon? I'm a white guy. My grandparents were immigrants. I'm definitely 100% American. Yep. Anyway. There's a concern for animosity between ethnic groups in America, but that's stoked by insecurity and capital owners pitting groups against each other. Yeah, but ultimately, that animosity is like blown out of proportion too. It's ridiculous. Think about it. When you have these sorts of conversations, with people, they come at it with these like vague generalizations and silly attitudes, and it completely falls apart. Truth is the greatest anecdote in this circumstance. It's actually significantly easier to have this conversation with people than you think. Just don't immediately call them racist or whatever, and just work through all of these issues that they supposedly have. In so many circumstances, the truth will reveal itself. Like the actual position that they have will reveal itself, or they'll agree with you at the end of it. That's how it works.
Like the fact that you're a deal maker, like the fact that you can end wars, but they are troubled by
the fact that you can end wars is crazy.
What happened in the 2020 election and statements about widespread fraud and this kind of stuff, fake electoral scheme. What can you say to those independent voters to help them decide who to vote for?
Right. I think the fraud was on the other side. I think the election was a fraud.
Bro, you just said you lost, dog. What do you mean? You said earlier you lost. You can't now turn around and be like, oh, the election was a fraud.
And many people felt it was that, and they wanted answers. And when you can't challenge an election, you have to be able to challenge it. Otherwise, it's going to get worse, not better. And there are lots of ways to solve this problem. Go to paper ballots, do it the easy way. I mean, the paper ballots, and you have voter ID, and you have same-day voting, and you have proof of citizenship, which is very important because we have people voting that are not citizens. They just came in, and they're loading up the paper.
I live in a large immigrant town. There are a lot of new and old immigrants that refuse to adapt. Saat 3'te. Refuse to learn or adapt or even learn English. I wonder about these communities. I'm Brazilian. I see this a lot in my communities. They even brought our material realities here with foods and brands from Brazil. How do you assimilate with these people in the communities? Can you unite? Bro, it's like talking about Chinatown. You know what I mean? That shit don't matter. It's good that there's like remnants of the culture that they bring here, okay? That makes it better for everybody else. It makes the food better. It makes American culture better. The idea that they're not going to assimilate to American culture is silly. It doesn't work that way. Even if they live in a cultural enclave, even if someone lives in a cultural enclave, the integration is a reality. It just doesn't matter if people are like, oh, I'm not going to learn. It doesn't matter. They still do. Okay. Especially by the fact that, especially by the second generation, when you have a child that is an American citizen, a natural born US citizen, like they're just American. They're going to American schools. Like there isn't a situation where they're just like, nah, dude, I'm not American. Or are you in a rush to assimilate them, chatter? No, I mean, there is no, people will say like, oh, they shouldn't assimilate or whatever, but like, that's not how this works. Okay. You need to have some semblance of like cultural unity. If we're having a serious conversation about it, of course, that's what public education is about. That's what the military is about. These are all factors at play that actually create a cohesive national identity, okay? We're not going to have like theoretical anarchist, no borders, no boundaries type conversations at this point, okay? Yeah, the greatest example is nobody makes that argument against Little Italy in New York. Thank you. Exactly. Okay? You don't say that about that. Think why.
Payrolls, they're loading up everything. They're putting students in schools. They don't speak a word of English. And they're taking the seats of people that are citizens of our country. So,
I gotta pee.
Look, we have the worst border in the history of the world. We have coming into our country right now millions and millions of people at levels that nobody's ever seen. I don't believe any country's ever seen it. And they would use sticks and stones not to make it happen, not to let it happen. We don't do anything. And we have a person who is the border czar, who now said she wasn't really the border czar, but she was. She was the border czar, but she was in charge of the border. And we have her, and she's saying very strongly, "Oh, I did such a good job. She was horrible, horrible. The harm she's done." But we have people coming in from other countries all over the world, not just South America, and they're coming in from prisons and jails. They're coming in from mental institutions and insane asylums. And they're street criminals. Right off the street, they take them. And they're being given to our country, drug dealers, human traffickers. We're destroying our country. This is a sin, what's been allowed to take place over the last 4 years. We're destroying our country. And we'll see how that all works out. But it's not even believable. And now you saw in Aurora, Colorado, a group of very tough young thugs from Venezuela taking over big areas, including buildings. They're taking over buildings. They have their big rifles, but they're taking over buildings. We're not going to let this happen. We're not going to let them destroy our country. And in those countries, crime is...
I wonder if Lex Fridman will go, is this true? Will there be a fact check on this? Nah. I live in Colorado. This is such a bullshit talking point. It's not happening. Yeah, good luck explaining that to people. You could be living in that. You could be living in those housing units, okay? And people will still be like, nah, this is the problem. They put the ring cam pics on screen yet. I saw the ring camera footage, okay? We were going to talk about this in a second. I tried to talk about this with Jank as well last night. And he legitimately believes it. He's like, no, it's real. Like, crime tourism is a real thing that's happening in America, and that it's real. He cannot be reasoned with on this issue. Like, he just straight up said it. Like, America does crime so much, we are importing criminals to do crimes, and they are stealing our regular American-born citizen crimes and from the American-born criminals. What would you say to folks arguing immigrants are a burden on our healthcare system? What healthcare system do we have? Number one. Number two, no, they're not. Undocumented immigrants cannot take advantage of like any kind of social safety nets that exist for very poor people in terms of like healthcare assistance. The only thing that they actually do take advantage of is the emergency room, and that constitutes 0.09% of overall healthcare budgets that the government is actually spending money on. So it's just not a real thing. Guys, every single number that right-wingers represent or right-wingers present when talking about undocumented migrants are not actually about the cost of undocumented migrants overall. Because in the cost-benefit analysis, undocumented migrants, given the horrifying conditions that they withstand in the American labor force, are actually putting in a shit ton more revenue into the system than they take out. They actually will cynically do this thing that is disgustingly racist, but is rarely ever called out. They factor in the children of undocumented migrants who are American citizens born on U.S. soil. They are American citizens. They will say, oh, undocumented migrants cost like $3 billion a year of taxpayer funded like education and all this stuff. And you're like, hold on. Undocumented migrants can't take advantage of any of those things. How are they doing that? And then you actually dive into the numbers and you realize, oh, they're looping people in who are American citizens into the numbers. Okay? So remember, if you hear like a massive number, look at the data. Okay? Look at the data. They're actually they're lumping in documented, natural-born U.S. citizens in terms of, here it is. Yeah, the cost of illegal immigration to taxpayers. Immigration Integrity Security Enforcement Subcommittee of the House Judiciary, hearing entitled The Impact of Illegal Immigration and Social Services. Illegal immigrants are a net fiscal drain, meaning they receive more in government services than they pay in taxes. This is a result not due to laziness or fraud. Illegal immigrants actually have high rates of work. They do pay some taxes, including income and payroll taxes. The fundamental reason that illegal immigrants are a net drain is that they have a low average education level, which results in low average earnings and tax payments. It also means that a large share of the quality for welfare programs often receiving benefits on behalf of U.S.-born children. It's literally right there in the summary. Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. What do you mean? Those are American citizens, dude. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? It is objectively wrong to lump in It is objectively wrong to lump in natural born US citizens into the drain that undocumented citizens are costing the United States of America. That's ridiculous. What the fuck are you talking about? That's not how that works. On a practical level, how would you propose to house undocumented migrants when we don't even have enough housing for citizens? We do have enough housing for citizens. You're delusional for thinking that we don't have enough housing for citizens. Mass construction is a slow process, even if there was the political will. Meanwhile, the number of homeless continue to skyrocket. If you think that homelessness is a crisis born out of undocumented migrants coming into the United States of America and not because housing is seen as an investment vehicle and many Americans that are homeowners want their property price to go up because it's like their only way of accumulating any kind of wealth, then I got something funny to tell you. It's called public housing, okay? But yeah, you're saying that like we don't have enough houses. You're wrong. We do. We have more vacant properties than we have the total number of homeless in this country. That's number one. Number two, it is directly a consequence of keeping house prices high. Okay, there is no political will to actually fix the housing crisis in this country. But we need to build more. Dog, I just told you we already have existing units. We still do need to build more. You are right, especially in high density urban areas. Okay. But the problem is people don't want to do that, and people don't want to build the actual necessary type of housing, okay? Social housing. You forget that the NIMBY mentality causing affordable housing to be in places you don't want to live? No, it's ridiculous. I don't care what NIMBYs believe. Even if you do the attempt initiative, NIMBYs make it impossible to do this building. You definitely see this in LA. There are 27.4 empty homes per homeless person right now in the United States of America. We should be building public housing that would single-handedly readjust the housing market, okay? You see it all over the Central Coast to preserve the look of the city. Yeah, it's bullshit. It doesn't matter. You can preserve the look of the city while simultaneously building higher density housing, okay? But also, it's not even just higher density housing. Like all the Twitch streamers gentrified LA. Yeah, we gentrified LA. One of the worst housing markets historically on the planet. It was the Twitch streamers that did that. Take the horse blinders off for a brief moment and be for real, dude. Anyway, undocumented migrants do not actually factor into the conversation about housing at all. It's ridiculous. What about the issue of people having mortgages? How to deal with the fact that a lot of people are hooked to their banks and it's a sudden drop in housing prices. People are literally bankrupt. Of course, people are wanting to profit and such, but it doesn't matter. But normal folk barely paying their mortgages will take the blow too, isn't it? I think that needs to be a readjustment that someone smarter than me will actually factor in. But overall, it's an investment, dog. What are we talking about? People talk about their housing investment as both their shelter and also like the most significant piece of investment of all time. It's ridiculous. This is what is really frustrating about homeowners in this goddamn country. If you want to treat your house as a piece of investment, as an asset, then sorry, sometimes you might take a hit. But for far too goddamn long, we have decided like, no, this will always go up. And now the inevitable consequences of this attitude, because there is a finite amount of land and people are not making better use of said land, people go, whoa, what about my investment? Sucks to suck, dude. What the do you mean, what about my investment? Ultimately, that land is finite. So your housing prices will go up again, okay? Fear not. You just have to sit in the house for a little bit longer. It's so frustrating, dude. A first house is a liability, a second home will be an asset. No, people still treat their first house as an asset. That's the major problem here. Because people, even if they see their only home that they own as like shelter, in their minds, they associate it with a second mortgage that they could potentially take out of it or have taken out of it. Okay, that's it. Property value dropping doesn't change their mortgage payment. The amount they have to pay is locked in. Yes. Well, that's not true, actually. They can restructure it, but that would be costly as well. Obviously, you can restructure your loan payments. This is the secret side of why we never get any sort of you can restructure your loan or you refinance it, but This is the secret side of the conversation as to why like we never actually move in the positive direction in terms of like housing prices. Everybody talks about their solution to it, but nobody wants to have that tough conversation. Homeowners vote, okay? If you own a home, you have assets, you're way more likely to vote, okay? Not so secret. No, it is because we never have the tough talk that like, for example, in California, 44% of the California population owns their home. That means 44% of likely voters, like which with a much higher likelihood of voting, straight up think, oh, this always has to go up. They will never in a million years appreciate if what they have taken for granted for multiple decades, which is ridiculous, like the way that their housing prices have gone up, ever goes down. They would lose their minds. Did we finish the Lex interview or not? No, we haven't, because he started lying about Venezuelans overtaking Aurora, Colorado, and it annoys me to no end. But even before I could address that, there were chatters in here that were chirping about like how fixing the housing crisis is by purging the lands of the barbaric, brutal force of Latin American migrants, as though that's going to work. It's an unimaginably costly endeavor that is insanely cruel, would rip the economy to shreds, and it wouldn't even fix your housing problem because it has nothing to do with undocumented migrants, dumbass. There is no lump sum of labor, okay? That's number one. And number two, more undocumented migrants becoming documented. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to build new housing units.
It's way down. They're taking them out of their prisons, which is good because good for them. I do the same thing. By the way, if I ran one of those countries, any country in the world, I would make sure that America has every one of our prisoners. Every one of our criminals would be here. I can't believe they're going so slowly, but some aren't. But they all are doing it. And we can't let that happen. They're emptying out their prisons and their mental institutions into the United States of America. We can't let that happen.
So a lot of people believe that there was some shady stuff that went on with the election, whether it's media bias or big tech, but still
Bro, there's no difference between like, a lot of people believe the earth is flat. Why are you having this convo,
The claim of widespread fraud is the thing that bothers people.
Well, I don't focus on the past. I focus on the future. I mean, I talk about how bad the economy is, how bad inflation is, how bad things like, which is important. Afghanistan was, in my opinion, the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to our country. And because of that, I think Putin went in. When he saw how stupid we were, Putin went in. But it was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. I really believe that.
Why is the voice of progressive telling me to vote for the blue war machine Lamau? I still like you, brother, and anyone who's disillusioned by Uncle Sam and him betraying the working class. But even in the simplest way, Jill Stein, Howie Hawkins, and the Green Party would never drop the bombs, let alone supply them. Yeah, they would never drop the bombs, let alone supply them, because they're never going to be president, okay? Biden and the Democrats genocided them. Why would you ever vote for that, let alone his VP? I don't understand where you're coming from, but as a typical Howie Hawkins, Jill Stein defender, I suspect that you're coming in here with I don't know, look at their logs. I suspect that you're coming in here with hallucinations, okay? I never once told you to vote for Kamala Harris, but I do find it very funny that you came in here, you spammed this shit a million different goddamn times, something that I never said. And also your suggestion is to vote for Jill Stein. Go ahead, dude, have fun with it, The Aurora fearmonger is so silly, says intelligent. It's all just suburban people in Highlands Ranch or wherever who say they're natives and think immigrants are subhuman. The people actually invading the Denver metro area are rich people / corporations driving up the housing prices. I live on the west side and still all my neighbors are immigrants. All my patients at work are immigrants, and the most enjoyable parts of Denver are due to immigrants. Everyone spewing this stuff can eat shit. The Aurora gang takeover story is like another perfect example of how unimaginably racist we've become as a country, that we are so susceptible to like the dumbest subject matter. Like just something that is like, is there crime? in a poor neighborhood? Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. But do you think that a Venezuelan roving gang of migrant criminals came in and like overtook an apartment complex? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I still have, unfortunately, for chatters who are asking this question, I don't know. I don't have the answer for the photo, the ring camera. Okay, the ring camera footage of the dudes with like the dude with the sniper rifle. It's just that the local police say that it is not happening. Like, so I don't really understand. When you got the right-wing ass local police force that literally, wasn't Elijah McClain in Aurora? Like when those guys are like, yeah, dude, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Like, what do you think? They're coordinating with the Venezuelan migrants secretly? They're in the pocket? A gang is not running the Colorado apartment complex and tenants are not paying its members rent money, police said, despite speculation for the public after images of men carrying weapons of the building went viral. The Edge at Lowry Apartments in Aurora, Colorado have not been taken over by gang members, interim Aurora Police Chief Heather Morris said in a video shared August 30th by the department on Facebook. We've been talking to residents here and learning from them to find out exactly what's going on, and there's definitely a different picture, Morris said in the video. I'm not saying there's not gang members that don't live in this community. People paying their rent to gang members is also not happening, according to Morris. We really believe that they are sincere with us, the interim chief said about the tenants in the apartment. Aurora officials must counter Venezuelan gang hysteria perpetrated by dodgy U.S. politicians and media propagandists. It doesn't make any fucking sense. I guess the police chief is gone woke now, you know? They've made them gay and woke. Ay, ay, ay. Go back to the video, please. I know, we're gonna talk more about this Aurora gang shit in a second. I'll dive into it more extensively. Yeah, the police chief is taken over by a migrant.
But you know, we left 13 dead soldiers. Think of it, 13 dead soldiers, many soldiers horrifically hurt with arms and legs and everything else gone. We left hostages behind. We left Americans behind. We left military equipment, the likes of which nobody's ever left behind before. Billions and billions of dollars of equipment. They're now
so many subscriptions could have been given at the top of the hour to the Hasanabi broadcast. The Hasanabi broadcast. At the top of the hour, folks, 3 minutes of ads. Biden made it $6. When I was president, it was $5 to subscribe. Now it's $6. Bidenomics, folks. Billions and billions of dollars. You no longer want to see the Hasanabi broadcast ad break at the top of the hour. All you need to do is subscribe, folks. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Are selling the equipment. They're one of the largest arms dealers in the world. And very sad, very sad. And you know, we were there for a long time. I was going to get out. We were getting ready to get out. Then we got interrupted by the election. But we would have been out with dignity and strength. We were having very little problem with the Taliban when I was there because they knew it was going to be tough. I dealt with Abdul. Abdul was the leader. And we got along fine. He understood. But, you know, they were killing a lot of our people before I came down. And when I got there, I spoke to him. I said, can't do it. Don't do it anymore. We went 18 months before this happened. This horrible day happened. We went 18 months and nobody was shot at or killed.
What do you think that was, the carrot or the stick in that case in Afghanistan?
The stick, definitely
so
the
the
stick.
threat of military force.
That was the stick, yeah. It doesn't have to be, but that was the stick.
Well, let me just linger on the election a little bit more. For this election, it might be a close one. What can we do to avoid the insanity and division of the previous election, whether you win or lose?
Well, I hope it's not a close one. I mean, you know, I don't know how people can vote for somebody that has destroyed our country. The inflation, the bad economy, but to me, in a way, the worst is what they've allowed to happen at our border, where they've allowed millions of people to come in here from places that you don't want to know about. And I can't believe that that's going to be a close election. You know, we're leading in the polls, but
You should be telling people not to vote for Kamala like you do for Trump if you are honestly in support of Palestinian emancipation and the end of the genocide. I will never tell people to vote for Kamala Harris But I will tell people not to vote for Donald Trump. Okay? If you want to vote for Kamala Harris, go off. If you think that you're voting for Kamala Harris to like stop the genocide in Gaza, you're delusional. I will tell you that every day of the week. Okay? If you think like don't vote for Kamala Harris is like somehow in the interest of Palestinian emancipation, I don't know what to tell you. Okay? Like go ahead. You know? Do whatever the fuck you want to do. Do you. Okay? But if you think that like me advocating like, oh yeah, do not vote for Kamala Harris. Do not vote for Kamala Harris because, you know, you got to vote for Jill Stein. Do not vote for Kamala Harris. Like, dog, I've been around the block many, many years, okay? I've covered multiple elections at this point, all right? Let me tell you something. Jill Stein was around as well back when I was covering the elections from 2016 to 2020, and now she's back. She's never around for local elections for some weird reason. The Green Party never mobilizes for any sort of local elections where they could actually genuinely and earnestly make a difference. Okay? We need to apply the pressure to the Democratic Party, otherwise they keep pulling the same shit. Yeah, see, this is new. This is a fresh, young-faced new chatter. Okay? No, they won't. They're delusional, warmongering genocidaires. They do not give a okay? They do not give a You watched the AOC TikTok? I did not. I've been talking about the Green Party far before AOC chirped about Jill Stein or whatever the okay? Give me a goddamn break. They do not give a If they did, they would have literally given a after the 2016 election. They didn't. They were like, oh, no, it's a Russia conspiracy. It's a Russia conspiracy. They just they stayed the course. The only thing that I have actually ever seen, Mark Lamont Hill, a Green Party member, said the same thing, yet nobody got mad at him. What do you mean? What did he say? I'm older than you. The issue is every anti-two-party movement vote is fractured. If every anti-genocide voter who wrote in the same message would be reported on far more consequentially by CNN and everyone else. Yeah. The funny thing is, AOC helped with what was probably one of the most successful Green Party runs, Jabari's 29% against incumbent Lori Cumbo in 2017. Then he ran as a Dem 3 years later and won in a landslide, so he could actually accomplish things. Green Party's L are mostly Democrat attacks. Wait, what? So let's focus on building a third party. At least they don't sell out, as if Americans are easy to organize. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm writing in Biden, okay? I'm writing in Biden. Oh, I just sneezed so hard I got an ab cramp. I'm writing in Biden. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. I'm staying the course. I'm writing in Biden. Joseph Robinette Biden. His name will be at the top of my ticket, okay? He's the only one. He's the only one bold enough and brave enough to defend America, okay? It can be true that Jill Stein is a grift and that Democrats are supporting a genocidal policy in Gaza. Not only can it be true, it is true. If this makes you despair, I only have one thing to say for you. Grow up. No one ever said change is easy. He's right. I'm a Biden dead ender. At least with PSL, they are active at at the forefront of protests historically and forever. Okay? They're very good at organizing. They're very good at community mobilization. The Green Party doesn't even do that shit. Shut the fuck up. Okay? I have a lot of respect for PSL in terms of all of the activism that they engage in. Shut the fuck up about the Green Party. They don't even do that shit. They don't even do that. Day Tuesday. Them steal my sign. Day Tuesday, moment I bring up PSL, Day Tuesday's in here, ready to rip, ready to let it rip. As soon as I... Speaking of irrelevant parties, do you think the libertarians just like to be contrarians? I don't want to have this conversation about the Green Party. Please stop, okay? Please stop. I can't believe we're having this conversation. Oh, my Lord. Okay, I don't know what AOC said about the Green Party. I don't care what AOC said about Jill Stein or the Green Party. I don't care. I don't care about the Green Party. Just explain to them why it's a grift. I already did. At least PSL is at the forefront of activism and community organizing in this goddamn country, okay? They have active chapters. There are literally people that are making those placards, Okay, they're going to protest. They're organizing protests. They're at the forefront of every civil rights movement in this country right now. Okay. Now, in terms of local elections, they're not great either. They don't have a phenomenal track record on that front either. Those are the places where you can actually make a difference. What's up? Ooch. Like, there are examples of this. Yeah, you have the Working Families Party in New York City. You have the DSA. Like, there are other political organizations that work within the existing structure. Okay, there are also people that are pushing the country in the correct direction. Okay, pushing the country in the progressive direction. The majority of leftists that are pushing so hard for the Green Party are constantly criticizing the squad. Yeah, this is irrelevant. This is not like a real group of people and no real momentum behind it whatsoever. The irony is, I regularly shit on the Democratic Party because they constantly take people's votes for granted. And the people that want the Green Party to magically win or something, even though they are comprised of like 0.01% of the vote overall that never actually end up voting regardless, they're all on Twitter. They're constantly chirping. They come in here and they chirp at me as well. And it's so funny because it's like, dude, you're doing the same like vote for her and she will win ass bullshit, okay? If you vote for her, she'll win. No, that's not how this works. They're not like Republicans or whatever, okay? There are plenty of well-intentioned people who end up going out and voting for the Green Party or whatever, or for PSL. They're wonderful people, okay? But overall, it is not a serious political party in this country. I'm sorry, okay? These political parties and movement organizers, and people will shit on them too. They'll be like, oh, they work within the confines of the Democratic Party. They're captive. But it's like, no, they do. They actively do try to get their policies across, okay? And it's a failure inevitably, but at least they're getting more movement than the Green Party is. I'm sorry. Oh, I think your take here is a mistake. My Palestinian wife literally Googled, who should I vote for if I'm anti-genocide? Seeing their growth in this community is missing the bigger problem that exists within progressive being able to use a Democrat any longer as a vehicle when it's been so disrespectful to Arab Muslim people. Yeah, if I was a Democratic Party loyalist, you'd be right, okay? I'm not. And I'm not telling you to vote for the Democrats either. Vote for whoever the fuck you want. But if you're going to come in here and be like, well, give the Green Party a real shot. Like if you think I'm going to, the very same criticisms that I have for the Democratic Party, I hold every outsider group to the same criticisms. Okay. We're going to talk about electoralism. We have to talk about it like adults. Okay. Like in a serious way and not in this like fabulous, hypothetical, exaggerated utopian worldview that you have, that you're magically going to get your will across to the broad majority of Americans. Okay, grow up. Mike is right. It's just like it's really, really, I don't know. It's just really weird. Like if I'm holding the Democratic Party accountable, of course I'm going to do the same thing to the Republican Party. Okay, which many people don't. Like Glenn Greenwald, for example. Glenn Greenwald exclusively shits on the Democratic Party and then literally defends the Republican Party on a regular fucking basis because he's a grifter. Okay. That's why you will never hear me not shit on the Republicans. Okay? Like, when people ask me to offer unconditional support to the Green Party, you're asking me to let go of, like, my critical perspective on an active political party, which is, that's the biggest boost they're going to get. I'm calling them an active political party. Glenn Greenwald isn't a grifter. He's a mark. There's a difference. No, I think he's a grifter. 73% of elections in 2024 went uncontested. If the Green Party was serious, it would behave like the British Greens after 2016. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a shit ton. Straw manning? I'm not. You should always pressure politicians due to establishment pressure. I agree. When have I not done that? If you think I haven't done that, ironically, you're straw manning, by the way. My position. I think people can casually abandon the Palestinians because they don't have an actual connection with the oppressed people. It's all a game and not a matter of survival. Oh my God. Okay, dude, you're right. Jill Stein went to Palestinian protests, so she actually is there. She's there. Go vote for her then. But just don't come in here and chirp at me. I have not abandoned the Palestinians. Okay. Oh, let's get back to the Lex Fridman interview.
And it looks close, but I think in the end, it's not going to be a close election.
What do you think is the right way to
explain why you're not voting for anti-war Trump is a good policy? If you think Donald Trump is anti-war, you are literally the biggest baby of all time, okay? Donald Trump, wait, what? Glenn Greenwald is not a grifter, Lamau. Are you pro-establishment or anti? You are a Trump supporter who thinks Donald Trump, who was the president for 4 fucking years, is anti-establishment. I don't know how I can have a conversation with you. Okay? I don't know how I can have a conversation with you. Of course you don't think Glenn Greenwald is not a grifter. Or of course you don't think Glenn Greenwald is a grifter. Donald Trump is a billionaire real estate developer born with a silver spoon who quite literally was the president for 4 years. Are you stupid? Do you have brain damage? Do you know how many war crimes he's single-handedly responsible for as the goddamn president? Every American president is a war criminal. Donald Trump also greatly accelerated drone warfare, so he's responsible for even more drone strikes than Drone King Barack Obama. One of his first acts of foreign policy was to drop the mother of all bombs, dude. What the are we talking about? He assassinated Qasem Soleimani, a high-ranking general that was broadly popular in Iran, in an unjustifiable extrajudicial killing. Okay? The only reason why it didn't amount to a complete warfare was because of the restraint demonstrated by the Iranian government on a regular basis. Iran is dangerous. Man, you can't say you're anti-war, then say Iran is dangerous. This is why I'm so frustrated with the Glenn Greenwald types who are like, yeah, dude, the Republicans are the real anti-war party. Like, eat a goddamn dick. Half the Republican Party wants to take away funds from Ukraine, okay, and then put it into bombing Mexico. What the fuck are you talking about? More anti-war than the current admin? No, the fuck he's not. Shut the fuck up. By the way, I don't even fault this dumbass, okay? Let me tell you something. This is how you arrive. You arrive at this conclusion, as do many Americans. Listen, this is a learning, educational moment for every single person. You can only arrive at this conclusion if you're obviously a little stupid, and many of us are, myself included, okay? But you have to understand, the only reason why Americans arrive at this conclusion is because Donald Trump at least presents an anti-war narrative, like he's a peaceful dove, like he did against Hillary Clinton, successfully, mind you, and he's doing again against the current Democratic administration. When you have Kamala Harris get up there and basically Sig Heil in English by being like, we have to have the most lethal American military, of course people are going to hear that and go, oh my God, there's a genocide going on. She's in support of it. She hasn't said anything to distinguish herself from Joe Biden, and then turn around and say stuff like, we're going to have the most lethal, hard-dicked military of all time. We're going to f all of our enemies in the ass. We're going to do it all. Then, yeah, Donald Trump being like, I'm going to finish all the wars. I'm going to finish all the wars. I love peace. I'm a peaceful dove. Dumbasses obviously hear that and go, okay, I guess Donald Trump is the peaceful dove candidate. There is a reason why he says it. He's lying. Don't say at least he's saying it. He's lying. You can look at his track record, dumbass. Technically, Joe Biden actually did end a war, Afghanistan. Donald Trump literally shits on him on a regular basis for doing so, for demonstrating the courage to do so, by the way. Okay? What do you mean at least he's lying? You can't trust either of them. Oh, shut up. You obviously prefer one over the other. I don't. I don't trust either of them. I don't like either of them. I openly said I wasn't going to vote for Joe Biden, and I wasn't going to vote for Donald Trump. And who knows if I vote for Kamala Harris or not. Probably won't either. So shut the f up. You actually have a dog in this fight. You want to vote for Donald Trump. You want to hug Trump. You want to kiss Trump. You love Donald Trump. You think he's a peaceful dove, okay? You have deluded yourself into thinking that Donald Trump is a peaceful dove when he was president for 4 years. You could look at him. You could look at what he did. Investigate a little bit further and make up your own mind after, looking at the evidence. Strikes on terrorists, Iran is good. Okay, so you're not a dove at all, dumbass. Shut up. Strikes on terrorists, Iran are good. We are the terror, okay? We are responsible for so much more terrorism globally than Iran ever could dream of, okay? What the f do you mean? You are a terrorist. You are a defender of terror. You are literally saying we should do more terror by calling Iran the terrorist Iran. Trump says he wants to. What do you mean he wants to what? Bomb Iran and you think that's good? How is he anti-war then, dumbass? You're not anti-war and neither is he.
To solve the immigration crisis is mass.
Dude, I'm being so for real with you. Like, you don't live in Lebanon, you don't live in Syria, you don't live in Iraq. If you don't live in that region, okay, and you legitimately think Iran constitutes a great danger to you, you are one of the biggest baboons of all time. Okay? Straight up. Straight the up. You are literally the dumbest person I have ever encountered. Okay? What the has Iran ever done to you? Okay? You try to think like, oh man, they're bad though, like, because look at their domestic policies. And then you advocate to bomb them. What do you think will happen if you bomb them? Do you think they'll be bombed into being woke? Is that what you think is going to happen?
Deportation, one of the solutions you would think about?
Well, you've got to get the criminals out of here fast, right? You know, the people from mental institutions, you got to get them back into their mental institution. No country can afford this. You know, it's just too much money. You look at what's happening in New York and Chicago and LA and lots of places, and you take a look at what's happening. There's no country can afford this. We can't afford it. And we've got to get the bad ones out immediately, and the rest have to be worked on. You know, it's happened before. Dwight Eisenhower was sort of a moderate president, moderate type person, but he hated when he saw people pouring into the country.
Dog is talking about mass deportations under Eisenhower and Operation Dry Front, but in reverse. The word I will not say because it's a slur. 1.3 million people were deported, okay? Mexican Americans were deported. Americans of Mexican descent were deported, okay? Put in concentration camps and deported. You understand? He's literally talking about this as though it's a positive thing. Holy dude.
And they were. Nothing like now. You know, I probably got elected in 2016 because of the border. And I told people what was happening, and they understood it. And I won the election, and I won the election, I think, because of the border. Our border is 25 times worse right now than it was in 2016. I had it fixed too. I had it the last week of the famous chart that I put up was exactly that. You know the chart? When I looked to the right, I said, there's the chart. Bing.
Bing.
That was not a pleasant experience. But the chart that I put up said, and that was done by Border Patrol, that was the lowest number that we've ever had come into our country in recorded history. And we have to get it back to that again. We will.
Let me ask you about Project 2025. So you've publicly said that you don't have any direct connection to Project
Nothing. I know nothing about it. And they know that too. Democrats know that. And I purposely haven't read it because I want to say to you, I have no idea what it's all about. It's easier than saying I read it and, you know, all of the things. No, I purposely haven't read it. And I've heard about it. I've heard about things that are in there that I don't like. And there's some things in there that everybody would like. But there are things that I don't like at all. And I think it's unfortunate that they put it out, but it doesn't mean anything because it has nothing to do with me. Project 25 has absolutely nothing to do with me.
You posted recently about marijuana and that you're okay with it being legalized, but it has to be done safely. Can you explain your policy there?
Well, I just put out a paper. And first of all, medical marijuana has been amazing. It's been, I've had friends and I've had others and doctors telling me that it's been absolutely amazing, the medical marijuana. And we put out a statement that we can live with the marijuana. It's got to be a certain age. Got to be a certain age to buy it. It's got to be done in a very concerted, lawful way. And the way they're doing it in Florida, I think, is going to be actually good. It's going to be very good. But it's got to be done in a good way. It's got to be done in a clean way. You go into some of these places, like in New York, it smells all marijuana. You can't, the way you've got to.
I hate the Democratic Party, dog. If they, dude, if the Democrats lose marijuana to Donald Trump, I'm going to Brian kill me. Like it is such a gimme. It's right there. Oh my God, bro. It's like, Do Democrats not support medical marijuana nationally? No, dude. Not one person believes the GOP will pass pro-marijuana reform laws. Okay, first of all, I don't think you understand what Trump is doing here, okay? This is the RFK Jr. Joe Rogan podcast audience activation. Okay? There are plenty of people who have never voted, who are the dumbest people you've ever seen, not because they've never voted, but just like in general, who only consume these goddamn podcasts, who will literally go, oh, dude, I'm voting for Trump because he said he likes marijuana. He's going to make it legal. Oh my God. I'm telling you right now, it's like U.S. files charges against Hamas leadership. That's so funny. That's awesome. Remember what I told you yesterday when they said, oh, it's over. Like, this is the last deal that we have. And then I told you that they're just not going to do anything about Israel. Well, I guess that's, they're doing that.
They have a system where there's control. And I think the way they've done it in Florida is very good.
Do you know anything about psychedelics? So I'm not a drug guy, but I recently did ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that speak to sort of the health benefits. And
there's already tons of people in weed culture who think Trump legalized hemp, which legalized THCA, aka normal weed, on purpose. He's popular in weed circles more so than you would expect. I mean, that makes sense. They're all potheads that don't know their ass from their elbow.
And the spiritual benefits of these different psychedelics.
Right.
I think would probably have a better world if everybody...
Wasn't the Biden admin trying to reschedule weed? What happened to that? Come on, dog. You know what happened to that. They just dropped it.
Everybody in Congress took some mushrooms, perhaps. Now, I know you stay away from all of that stuff. I know also veterans use it for dealing with PTSD and all that kind of stuff. So it's great, and it's interesting that you're thinking about being more accepting of some of these drugs, which don't just have a recreational purpose, but a medical purpose, a treatment purpose.
So we put out a statement today. We're going to put
that was not very nice. Okay, potheads, calm the down. Okay, Jesus Christ, I'm in favor of legalization. Okay, calm down. You can smoke all the pot that your heart desires. Okay, calm down. This old man said potheads. I know. I'm the devil's lettuce. More pothead slander and alcoholic celebration. Yes, I am pro drunk driving and anti marijuana. I am a 1960s Democrat or conservative. I'm just a 1960s kind of guy. U.S. poised to ease restrictions on marijuana in historic shift, but it'll remain controlled substance. How much would you smoke in a day, be honest? I don't. I used to smoke a lot. I don't. Year of Hasanabi vindication continues. Harris made better decisions before the convention waltz than during, making a nothing will change Biden speech, and polling reflects this. Harris got a polling bounce before her convention, not after. How'd that happen? Say weed is cool right now. Dude, I cannot begin to tell you how little I give a shit about like weed. I don't care. Legalize it. Who gives a f? When was the last time you smoked? Years. It's been years. I'm more of a mushroom guy myself, and even then I don't really do that a lot either. Like, I feel like this is a conversation that has been had a million times over. Who gives a f? Like, it's not people from not legal states care, little bro. No, dog, you don't understand. I'm saying I don't care as in like, yeah, of course I'm in favor of legalization. What the f are you talking about? Like, as in, it's a done deal. There is no argument against it. I don't agree with any arguments against it. I think that there's no real valid argument against it in general. That's why I'm saying it is a done deal in my mind. That's why I'm criticizing the Democratic Party for not like actively pulling that rope and just being like, we are going to move forward and engage in rescheduling marijuana in general and continue forward with legalization process. We're also going to open up a shit ton of people in prison currently for the crime of carrying, the crime of possession, the crime of even distribution, really. It's not even, it's a done deal. And I'm criticizing the Democratic Party for being potentially outflanked by the Republican Party, because when Donald Trump says like, oh, I like weed, it's fine, it's good, it's going to be good, I'm going to vote for it in Florida. All of a sudden, okay, don't say it's not outflanking from the eyes of the average people when the federal government or the Democratic Party routinely does not talk about this at all and runs away from it. It comes across as though it comes across as though Donald Trump is actually outflanking the megaphonics. When I'm talking about the average American, understand I'm talking about their perception, okay? If you don't hear Joe Biden talk about it, and if you don't hear Kamala Harris talk about it, but you hear Donald Trump talk about it, obviously, from the average person's perspective, it comes across as though they're the ones outflanking the Democratic Party. It's the same principle. It is the same exact principle behind, why the in the chat was saying Donald Trump says he's a peaceful dove. Why would I not vote for him to end wars? Okay? If you don't make it a message that is at the forefront of your campaigning, okay? If you don't put it in any part of your campaigning strategy whatsoever, then of course people are going to go, oh, well, Donald Trump is talking about it. I believe he's going to, do the right thing and make marijuana legal or whatever the they ascribe to Donald Trump. Do you not understand what I'm saying here? It's the same issue behind like the railroad strikes. The Biden campaign rarely ever talked about it. The only thing that people remember is the fact that they stopped the strikes legally before they ever happened. They don't know what came afterwards. They don't know that they still continue to engage. They don't know that the Biden campaign the Biden administration still continued to engage with the railroads and actually got the wishes of the railroad unions across to the railroad companies. Okay? Campaign lol, Freudian slip. Oh.
Put out another one probably next week, be more specific, although I think it's pretty specific. And we'll see how that all goes. That's a referendum coming up in some states, but it's coming up, and we'll see how it does. I will say it's been very hard to beat it. You take a look at the numbers, it's been very hard to beat it. So I think it'll generally pass, but you want to do it in a safe way.
Speaking of marijuana, let me ask you about my good friend Joe Rogan. So you had a bit of tension with him. So when he said nice things about RFK Jr., I think you've said some not so nice things about Joe, and I think that was a bit unfair. And as a fan of Joe, I would love to see you do his podcast because he is legit the greatest conversationalist in the world. So what's the story behind the tension?
I don't think
Glaze.
there was any tension, and I've always liked him, but I don't know him. I mean, I only see him when I walk into the arena with Dana, and I shake his hand. I see him there, and I think he's good at what he does, but I don't know about doing his podcast. I mean, I guess I'd do it, but I haven't been asked, and I'm not asking them, I'm not asking anybody.
It sounds like a challenging negotiation situation.
No, it's not. It's not really a negotiation. And he's sort of a liberal guy, I guess, from what I understand. But he likes Kennedy. This was before I found this out, before Kennedy came in with us. He's going to be great. Bobby's going to be great. But I like that he likes Kennedy. I do too. He's a different kind of a guy, but he's got some great things going. And I think he's going to be beyond politics. I think he could be quite influential in taking care of some situations that you probably would agree should be taken care of.
The Joe Rogan post is an example. I would love to get your psychology about.
It's kind of crazy that he just said, like, he's being called. They're mad at him for. Lex Fridman is like the first time he's actually had like any kind of division, any kind of like contentious adversarial journalism that Lex Fridman is presenting here is because Trump has not sufficiently dick rode Joe Rogan. That's awesome. Like, he's like, oh, you said some mean words about Joe Rogan. What's up with that? That's wild, dude. You're Mr. Deals. You're Mr. End All Wars. You're Mr. Steal Your Girl. You're bitch bad. You're dick too long. You're smoke too loud. But also, why did you say that about Joe Rogan? Sir, don't you know Joe Rogan is the greatest champion of free-flowing conversations, sir? He's the greatest conversationalist of all time. Awesome.
Behind the tweets and the posts on Truth, are you sometimes being intentionally provocative, or are you just speaking your mind? And are there times where you regret some of the truths you've posted?
Yeah, I do. I mean, but not that often, honestly. I do a lot of reposting. the ones you get in trouble with are the reposts, because you find down deep they're into some group that
He's talking about QAnon.
you're not supposed to be reposting. You
He's
don't
talking
even know
about
if those
QAnon.
groups are good, bad, or indifferent. But the reposts are the ones.
How much you want to bet his staffers were like, dude, what the f are you doing? Don't retruth and repost like QAnon supporters. Like, that's a bad look, sir. We're trying to present you as a moderate, sir. You're running a general election, sir.
Ones that really get you in trouble. When you do your own words, it's sort of easier. But the reposts go very quickly. And if you're going to check every single little symbol, and I don't know, it's worked out pretty well for me. I tell you, it's truth is very powerful. Truth. And it's my platform, and it's been very powerful, very, very powerful. Goes everywhere. I call it my typewriter. You know, that's actually my typewriter.
What are you doing usually when you're composing a truth? Like, are you chilling back on a couch?
Couches, beds,
Okay.
a lot of different things. I mean,
Like late at night and just
I'd
laying-
like to do some late at night. You know, I'm not a huge sleeper, but whenever I do them, you know, past like 3 o'clock,
Mhm.
they criticize you the next day. Trump was up truthing. Okay, Trump was truthing at 3 o'clock in the morning, and there should be no problem with that. And then when you think about time zones, how do they know that you're like, you know, in a time zone like an Eastern zone? So, but every time I do it after like 2 or 3 o'clock, it's like, why is he doing that? But it's gotten, I mean, you know, the truth has become a very successful platform. And I like doing it. And it goes everywhere. As soon as I do it, it goes everywhere.
The country seems more divided than ever.
Yeah.
What can you do to help alleviate some of that division?
Well, you can get rid of these two people. They're terrible. They're terrible. You don't want to have them running this country. They're not equipped to run it. Joe, it's a disaster. Okay. And Kamala, I think she'll end up being worse than him. We'll see. I think a lot's now, you know, the convention's over with, and I see I'm leading in just about all the polls now. They had their little honeymoon period, as they call it. And we'll see how that all goes. Who knows? So.
From my personal opinion, I think you are at your best when you're talking about a positive vision of the future versus criticizing the other side.
Yeah. I think you have to criticize, though. I think they're nasty. They came up with a story that I looked down and I called soldiers that died in World War I suckers and losers. Okay. Now, number one, who would say that? Number two, who would say it to military people? Nobody. It was a made-up story. It was just a made-up story. And they like to repeat it over again. They know it was made up. I have 26 witnesses that nothing was said. They don't want to hear about that. Like she lied on McDonald's. She said that that she worked at McDonald's. It's not a big lie, but it's a big lie. It's so, you know, I mean, they just went and they checked. And unless she can show something, they don't talk about, the presses are going to follow up with it, but I'll keep hammering it. But she never worked at McDonald's. It was just a, you know, sort of a cool thing to say, hey, I worked at McDonald's, you know. But one of the worst was 2 days ago, I went to Arlington at the request of people that lost their children.
He's awesome. Lex is like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be so contentious. How do you fix the country's divisiveness? He's like, they're suckers. I hate them. We fix it by voting for me. Kamala Harris never worked at McDonald's. It's like, what are you saying? I mean, like I said, I'm not like Mr. Give all the reverence and respect to Mr. Respecting Veterans. I'm not Mr. Respect the Veterans, okay? As you guys know, one of my most famous moments is disrespecting a veteran. In my headcanon, I like to think that like when Fox and Friends talked about it, which was Donald Trump's favorite show at the time, he didn't actually respond and tweet about it because there was a real moment where we were afraid that Donald Trump was going to see it and say something about 9/11 and how I'm a socialist, Islamist or whatever the fuck, and then I was going to get killed. Maybe he just saw it and was like, he agreed.
There'll always be children to those people. You understand that. That's not politically incorrect thing to say. The mother comes up, I lost my child. But, the child is a soldier. And lost the child because of Biden and because of Kamala, just as though they had the gun in their hand, because it was so badly handled. It should have been done at Bagram, which is the big air base. It shouldn't have been done at a small little airport right in the middle of town where people stormed it. It was a true disaster. And they asked me if I'd come and celebrate with them 3 years. 3 years. They died 3 years ago. And I said, I'm going to try. I got to know them because I brought them here, actually. One night, they almost all came here. And they said, I wonder if Trump will actually come and see us. I heard they were here. I came, saw them. And we stayed for like 4 hours listening to music up on a deck right upstairs. Beautiful. And they were great people. So they called me over the last couple of weeks and they said, we're going to have a reunion, our 3-year reunion. Would you be able to come? And it was very hard for me to do it logistically, but I said, I'll get it done. And I got there and we had a beautiful time. I didn't run away. I didn't just walk in, shake hands and walk out like people do. And I wasn't looking at my watch like Joe Biden does. And it was amazing. So I did it for them. I didn't do it for me. I don't need the publicity.
You literally are using them as a campaign ad. And you shot a TikTok. You made them throw the thumbs up and smile on the grave of the dude who died. That's so sick. He's so goated, dude. He is such a demon. And honestly, his supporters do deserve him. So, like, it's what he would have wanted. Oh, absolutely. It's not even a joke. He probably would have wanted that shit. Yeah. Yeah, next to the guy who killed himself, by the way. His marked grave perfectly visible in the thumbs up photo.
I mean, I get more publicity probably than anybody. You would know that better than me, but I think maybe more than anybody. Maybe more than anybody that's ever lived. I don't know. But I don't think anyone could have any more. Every time you turn on television, there's like 9 different stories, all on different topics, and they're all about Trump. As an example, you interview a lot of people, good people, successful people. Let's see how you do with this interview versus them, okay? I mean, I can tell you right now, you're going to get the highest numbers you've ever had by sometimes a factor of 10. But when a Gold Star family asks me to come in and spend time with them. And then they said, sir, we did a ceremony and then we went down to the graves, which was quite a distance away. They said, sir, would you come to the grave? And then they said when we were there, it's very sad actually, because these people shouldn't have died. They shouldn't have died. They died because of Biden and because of Kamala. They died because it's just like if they pulled the trigger, okay? Now, I don't know if that's controversial to say, but I don't think it is. Afghanistan was the most incompetently run operation I think I've ever seen, military or otherwise. They're incompetent. But the families asked me if I'd go. I did go. Then the family said, could we have a picture at the tombstone of my son? And we did. Son or daughter. There was a daughter, too. And I took numerous pictures with the families. I don't know if anybody else that was in the pictures, but they were mostly families, I guess. That was it. And then I left. I spent a lot of time with them. Then I left, and I get home that night, and I get a call that the Biden administration with Kamala is accusing me of using Arlington for publicity. I was in use. Just the opposite. Just the opposite. And
okay, but like you shot a TikTok. Like you literally did. You went there specifically because you wanted to use the Gold Star family of hogs to be like, yeah, Brandon pulled out of Afghanistan incorrectly. That's why my son died. Like the commander in chief, whatever, right? But like they might be hogs who consented to it, but like you can't lie. Everybody else knows what the is going on. It's one of the funniest things, dude. I love it personally. I don't give a shit. Like, I cannot stress this enough. One of the coolest things that Donald Trump ever said when he was running for president in 2016 was when he said he likes his heroes not to be captured by the Viet Cong. Okay. When referencing John McCain, it is one of the coolest things that anyone ever running for president has ever said. Like, I was legitimately shocked. Okay. It was awesome. It was so awesome that he said that. And it didn't even put a dent. It did not even put a dent in his approval ratings, in the way that like veterans see him and want to vote for him. Yeah, until Joe Biden said you should kill your foreman. But like, cool as maybe if you're a Republican scumbag. I guess I'm a Republican scumbag because John McCain, dude. A Republican scumbag himself, by the way. Like, this is why I'm saying I don't give a that he like shot a TikTok on top of some dead soldiers, because it's insanely funny. Not only is it insanely funny that he did the "don't you give up now, you know, like the little early TikTok meme of like the kid dancing in front of his like dying grandfather. He basically did that. Okay. He literally, not even basically, he just straight up did that. He danced on their graves, which is already an insane thing to do and pretty funny. And people will not be upset at him for it at all. Okay. It's awesome. There are more people in here at the top of the hour mad at me that I'm serving a 3-minute ad break than veterans who will be upset that Trump hit the gritty on top of like a bunch of dead soldiers' graves. Okay. Right up. If Kamala did the same, you know, his dick riding voters would call her a traitor. Yeah, 100%. Except Kamala Harris does not have that level of riz. Okay. Kamala Harris would never do one of these TikToks. Okay. In the way that Donald Trump was able to, execute one of them.
And actually, did you see, it just came out, the families actually put out a very strong statement defending me. They said,
by the way, I hit that top of the hour ad break so smooth, people didn't even realize it's coming for him. That's crazy. Anyway, here's the 3-minute ad break now.
we asked him to be there.
Well, politicians and the media can play those games. And you're right. Your name gets a lot of views. You're probably legit the most famous person in the world. But on the previous thing, in the spirit of unity, you used to be a Democrat.
Yeah.
Setting the politicians aside, what do you respect most about people who lean left, who are Democrats themselves or of that persuasion, progressives, liberals, and so on?
Well, look, I respect the fact that everybody's in there. And, to a certain extent, life is what you do while you're waiting to die. So you might as well do a good job. I think
Okay, Trump. I mean, I don't hate that line. Everyone is throwing up question marks just because it's Donald Trump saying it, but like, he kind of popped off, dude. That was a little bit of a bar. That was his like coconut moment. That was a little bit of a.
And, to a certain extent, life is what you do while you're waiting to die. So you might as well do a good job. I think in terms of what's happening now, I think, we have a chance to save the country. This country's going down. And I called it with Venezuela. I called it with a lot of different countries. And this country's going down. If we don't win this election, the election coming up on November 5th is the most important election this country's in.
Oh, bro, this is loser speak. I don't know what happened, but somewhere around like post 2020, the Republicans started behaving like Democrats. Okay. Right there. Like that's a Democrat bar, dude. He's like one step removed from vote shaming. I feel like he's going to start vote shaming. Like, yeah. And them started behaving like Republicans, but like not the good behavior that Republicans demonstrate is in like wanting to win and standing on business and actually consistently calling the opposite side pedophile monsters, I wish they would do that, but they only adopted the Republican policies.
Ever had. Because if we don't win it, I don't know that there'll be another election, and it's going to be a communist country. We're close.
And there's a lot of people listening to this, myself included.
I guess he is vote shaming Jewish people, but he's doing it in the most Trumpian way possible, where he's like, if you're a Jew and you don't vote for me, you are mentally disabled. Like, oh man. He does say that a lot. You need your head examined. You are intellectually disabled. If you're a Jew and if you don't vote for me, then you are no longer a Jew. You are now a Palestinian, which is the opposite of a Jew, like Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is no longer a Jew. He's not allowed at the synagogue.
That doesn't think that Kamala is a communist.
Well, she's a Marxist.
Her father's a Marxist.
That's right.
And she's
It's
advocating.
a little unusual, you know.
She's advocating for some policies
Why is
that
that?
are towards the direction of democratic socialism, let's say. But there's a lot of people that kind of know the way government works, and they say, well, none of those policies are.
What policies has Kamala Harris put forward that is aligned with any kind of democratic socialism, dude? These people have brain worms. Also, Donald Trump made it seem like Marxism is a genetically inherited trait. Like, well, her father is a Marxist. That's a little unusual. It's crazy. People just go on camera and say anything, dude. They just say whatever the fuck they want. And it does not even matter a little bit. It's crazy.
Going to actually come to reality. It's just being used during the campaign to, you know, groceries are too expensive. We need them cheaper. So let's talk about price controls. And that's never going to come to reality.
It could come to reality. Look, I mean, she came out with price control. It's been tried like 121 different times at different places over the years, and it's never worked once. It leads to communism. It leads to socialism. It leads to having no food on the shelves.
Richard Nixon.
And it leads to tremendous inflation.
Richard Nixon normalized relations with China, okay? Recognizing China as like actual China. Price controls. That's it. He is a secret Maoist. Secret Maoist Richard Nixon. He did that. And Trump is right. He literally did communism in America.
It's just
It's a bad idea.
whenever we use terms like communism for
And
her,
the EPA.
and I don't know if you know this, but some people call you a fascist.
Yeah, they do. So I figure it's all right to call them a communist. Yeah, they call me a lot worse than I call them.
They do indeed.
Wait,
It's
what?
just sometimes
It's interesting, though.
Wait, he's just admitting it, dude. What the He's like, yeah, I don't really believe it at all. I'm just gonna call them that because they call me a fascist.
So they'll call me something
Yeah, by the way, you know who called you a fascist? Your goddamn VP, okay?
that's terrible.
Trump calls people's rapists, murderers, and pedophiles who don't agree with him. Yeah, he calls entire like segments of society bloodthirsty, murderous monsters.
One, then I'll hit them back. And they'll say, isn't it terrible what Trump said? I said, well, wait a minute. They just called me. So I believe you have to fight fire with fire. I believe they're very evil people. These are evil people. You know, we have an enemy from the outside and we have an enemy from within. And in my opinion, the enemy from within are radical left lunatics. And I think you have to fight back.
whenever there's a lot of fighting fire with fire, it's too easy to forget that there's a middle of America that is that's moderate and kind of sees the good in both sides and just likes one side more than the other in terms of policies. Like I said, there's a lot of people that like your policies, that like your skill in being able to negotiate and end wars, and they don't see the
What war did
impending
Trump
destruction
end?
of America.
You know, we had no wars when I was president. That's
What
a
are
big
you
thing.
talking about? There's never been, I think there was like a period of 7 years where America's not been engaged in war, okay? Like total, throughout its entire history, okay? Donald Trump absolutely oversaw wars. What the are we talking about? What war did he end? I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Democrats are so dumb for leaving this point on the table. Americans largely do not understand the imperialism necessary for their jalapeno poppers to be $5, and they broadly consider themselves to be anti-war. Donald Trump is taking advantage of that broad sentiment by presenting himself as anti-war, where the Democrats are running towards being pro-war. There is no constituency for pro-war, or at least the constituencies for pro-war are already in the Republican Party.
In 78 years has that happened. But we had no wars when I was president. We defeated ISIS, but that was a war that was started that we weren't anywhere near defeating. But think of it, I had no wars. And Viktor Orban, the prime minister of Hungary, said the world has to have Trump back because everybody was afraid of Trump. Now, that's what he said. So I'm not using that term, but I think they respected me. But he said China was afraid, Russia was afraid, everybody was afraid. And I don't care what word they use. Probably that's even a better word if you want to know the truth. But let's use the word respect. They had respect for me. They had respect for the country.
Dude, Viktor Orban is so funny because, like, he's gotten so much undeserved praise and, like, undeserved popularity because he's just, like, glazes Trump. Like, why? Who the cares about Viktor Orban, bro? What are you talking about? Put the fries in the bag, Victor. What do you mean? Like, bro, it is so wild that, like, you got a former American president being like, Viktor Orban, he likes me. It's like, I don't care. What the do you mean? Like, his opinion is as relevant as, like, whatever the leader of Estonia is. I don't know. Okay? Can you imagine if Joe Biden is running around being like, the leader of Estonia, he likes me a lot, Jack. Probably she, because Estonia is majority women. Okay? It's like, I'd be like, what are you saying? Like, who gives a I don't care. He probably, Viktor Orban, every single time he's mentioned by Donald Trump or any other Republican, okay, gets more out of that bargain than the person mentioning them gets. Lol, it is in fact a she and called it. See?
I mean, I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, the Russian pipeline. Nobody else could have done that. I ended it. It was done. Then Biden comes in and he approved it. So we're defending Germany and these other countries for peanuts compared to what it's worth. And they're paying the person we're defending them against billions and billions of dollars for energy.
I'm so mad. I could do better propaganda for Trump than Trump is making. Okay? I would literally be like, they said I'm anti-NATO. I told European countries to pay up. Okay? And then they did. And then you know what Joe Biden did? He followed. If he had such an issue with my policies on NATO, he would have told the European countries, no, keep your money. He didn't do that though, did he? Because he liked that policy. Okay? If I'm Trump, I'd be like, dude, they continued my policies with NATO. Like, they keep calling me a Nazi or whatever, but then they keep doing the shit that I did 4 years ago. They called all of my supporters Nazis for wanting to build a wall. Okay? All of my supporters, they're Nazis because they want to build a wall. Guess who wants to build the wall now? They act like they want to build the wall now, 4 years later. The fuck are we doing? Are we really not going to at least call into question the motivation here of the Democratic Party? They said the same thing about tariffs. I put tariffs on China because I'm brave and I'm bold and I'm beautiful. They yelled about my tariffs on China. Now they're putting Joe Biden, before he ran out because I destroyed him in the debate, was also running on putting tariffs on China. My tariffs. Now I just want what's best for America and what's best for Americans, okay? That's why I don't mind it. But it's crazy to me that these guys constantly get in their feelings and call my supporters one thing until they realize it's a good idea and they want to do it themselves. You know? That's what I would say if I was Donald Trump.
I said, how does that work? And we had it out with them, and it worked out good. And they paid hundreds of billions of dollars. Or you wouldn't even have a NATO right now. You wouldn't have NATO if it wasn't for me.
As the leader of the United States, you were the most powerful man in the world. As you mentioned, not only the most famous, but the most powerful. And if you become leader again, you will have unprecedented power. Just on your own personal psychology, what does that power do to you? Is there any threat of it corrupting how you see the world?
No, I don't think so. Look, I've been there for 4 years. I could have done a big number on Hillary Clinton. I thought it looked terrible to take the president's wife and put her in prison. She's so lucky. I didn't do anything. She's so lucky. Hillary is a lucky woman because I had a lot of people pushing me too. They wanted to see something, but I could have done something very bad. I thought it looked so bad. Think of it. You have the president of the United States, and you also had Secretary of State, right? She was. But you're going to put the president's wife in prison? And yet when I got out there, they have all these hoaxes. They're all hoaxes. But they have all these dishonest hoaxes, just like they did in the past with Russia. That was a hoax. The 51 different, agencies or agents, that was a hoax. The whole thing was a hoax. There was so many hoaxes and scams. But I didn't want to put her in jail. And I didn't. And I explained it to people. They say, lock her up. It doesn't. We won. I said, we don't want to put her in jail. We want to bring the country together. I want to bring the country together. You don't bring the country together by putting her in jail. But then when I got out, they went to work on me. It's amazing. And they suffer from massive Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. And I don't know if it's curable from their standpoint.
A lot of people are very interested in footage of UFOs. The Pentagon.
What a segue, dude. He just nothing on that. Nothing. Bro, how are you having a conversation? Are you a robot? Like, how? It is shocking the way Lex interviews people. Like, dig in a little bit, man. Ask a follow-up question. It doesn't have to be contentious, but just like anything.
Pentagon has released a few videos, and there's been anecdotal reports from fighter pilots. So a lot of people want to know, will you help push the Pentagon to release more footage, which a lot of people claim is available?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Motherfuckers chat GPT, bro.
I would do that. I'd love to do that. I have to do that. But they also are pushing me on Kennedy. And I did release a lot, but I had people come to me and beg me not to do it. But I'll be doing that very early on. But I would do that.
There's a moment.
Okay, come on. Why didn't you? You ran. You literally went on the Alex Jones InfoWars broadcast before winning the presidency, which, by the way, that's what he did. For those of you who forget, Donald Trump went on InfoWars. Okay, he did this exact same push last time around in 2020. He didn't do it in 2020. He didn't do it in 2020. He did it in 2016, and he won. He went on InfoWars. Now, he also kept running on the narrative, the false promise that he would release the 9/11, like all the 9/11 documents, and he didn't do that shit at all. He's a liar.
Where you had some hesitation about Epstein, releasing some of the documents on Epstein. Why the hesitation?
I don't think I'm not involved. I never went to his island, fortunately. But a lot of people did.
Why do you think so many smart, powerful people allowed him to get so close?
He was a good salesman. He was,
Say it, bitch. You were the president. You know what happened. You were the president. You presided over his assassination. Come on, say it. We know the answer. Let's see. Let's hear if he can say it. Dog, the Epstein connection between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein does not simply end at Mar-a-Lago, where Jeffrey Epstein was using Mar-a-Lago as a hunting ground, if you will. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein's first criminal prosecution in the early 2000s had also a subsequent federal prosecution. There was one case happening in the state of Florida. It was a state case, and a federal investigation was being conducted into Jeffrey Epstein's actions, because sex trafficking minors across state boundaries is a federal crime beyond the fact that it is also illegal in the state. There was a prosecutor in the state of Florida that famously gave Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart bargain, an unimaginable sweetheart bargain. His name was Alexander Acosta. You might recognize him also as a part of the Trump administration. Jeffrey Epstein's lawyers are, of course, yes, Ken Starr and the Dersh. There's also more connections between Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Barr's father, who ended up killing, who ended up overseeing Jeffrey Epstein's assassination in prison. Okay, so when this guy goes, "Oh, I'm not related to Jeffrey Epstein," he's lying.
He was a hale and hearty type of guy. He had some nice assets that he'd throw around, like islands. But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that
Why do you keep saying fortunately, dog? He's literally saying, like, I would have been if I was invited. Luckily, I was not. I'm serious, bro.
the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be.
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. You know, they do that for danger too, because, you know, it endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem.
Dog, you literally wished Ghislaine Maxwell well. You said, I wish her well. You also, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he buy one of Jeffrey Epstein's planes recently? When Ghislaine Maxwell was prosecuted and was going to be criminally charged, you said, I wish her well. All right, he's campaigning on the Jeffrey Epstein jet. That's why I think it's so funny when people are like, I'm a crank, I'm anti-establishment. That's why I love Donald Trump. I'm like, dog, what are you saying? Literally, he's running alongside a Kennedy who used to fly on the Epstein jet Lolita Express. I don't remember, this is an old article.
Problem with it.
That's great to hear. What gives you strength when you're getting attacked? You're one of the most attacked people in the world.
I think you can't care that much. I know people that care so much about everything, like what people are saying. You can't care too much because you end up choking.
One of the tragic things about life is that it ends. How often do you think about your death? Are you afraid of it?
I have a friend who's very, very successful, and he's in his 80s, mid 80s, and he asked me that exact same question. I turned it around. I said, well, what about you? He said, I think about it every minute of every day. And then a week later, he called me to tell me something. And he starts off the conversation by going, tick, tock, tick, tock.
Yeah.
Bro, that's unwell. That's got to be, since Hasan is rich and likes communism, why does he not just buy a communism from the communism store and make it happen? True, dude. The reason why Jill Stein only gets 1 to 2% of the vote is because Bernie moved the progressive base of the Democrats, and now they're disillusioned that they actually represent them. Good intentions, but wrong move. Chatter, are you Jill Stein herself? Like, what's happening? No. The Bernie wing of the base within the Democratic Party always existed, okay? Please stop with this Green Party shit. Oh my God. Okay, let's just...
This is a dark person, you know, in a sense, but...
I love that Bernie is now doubly sexist. Sexist for running against Hillary and also sexist for running against Jill Stein. Please, dude. Bernie Sanders up 2 prominent women who were definitely going to be president. Both of their campaigns, okay? Hillary Clinton and Jill Stein. What a W for men, okay? What a W for Bernard.
It is what it is. I mean, you know, if you're religious, you have, I think, a better feeling toward it. You know, you're supposed to go to heaven, ideally not hell, but you're supposed to go to heaven if you're good. I think our country's missing a lot of religion.
Bro, this is my favorite take. Hold up. Someone said, Kamala Harris supports the genocide. Jill Stein is against the genocide. Okay, so am I. Write me in then. Write my name in for president. Because fundamentally, there is no difference between me or Jill Stein in terms of like who you're going to do in your writing candidacy, okay? I'm anti-genocide. Kamala Harris isn't. Do you understand? Well, there is a difference. I probably am more active and not only active every 4 years when an election is coming up. I'm probably a little bit more active than Jill Stein in American politics and like community organizing and funding and facilitating protest movements and things of that nature than Jill Stein. So yeah, you should just write my name instead. Okay? Now, I obviously have the same likelihood of being president as Jill Stein and more of the moral consistency that you are so desperate for. Of course, there is a constitutional problem with me being president. I am 33 years old. I'm not eligible. Okay. But Jill Stein might as well not be eligible either because she ain't becoming president.
I think it really was a much better place.
Harris? Did I ever say that? Why are you on that AOC type B, homie? Did I ever say that? A lot of you don't actually care about politics at all and shockingly consume it like it's a television melodrama. Like it's a soap opera to you. You're like, oh, AOC said this about Jill Stein. Like, who cares, man? Collectively, between the two of them, like, they do not have even the attention of like 25% of the base of support in the American broader electorate, okay? And by the way, 25% of that 25% is entirely on AOC. Jill Stein has 0.0000001%. It's like saying between Albania and China, we comprise 1 billion people, okay? Mostly China carrying that weight. What the fuck was that? Did you guys see that? Did it go black on your screen as well? That was weird. All right,
With religion, it was almost a guide, you know, to a certain extent. It was a guide. You want to be good to people. Without religion, there are no guardrails. I'd love to see us get back to religion, more religion in this country.
Well, Mr. President, thank you for putting yourself out there and thank you for talking today.
Look,
I think the worst thing AOC ever did, and there's a lot of stuff that like I criticize AOC on, riding with Biden, doing an Instagram live about why you're riding with Biden, and then like bringing forward some of the worst ideas that like Jamie Harris has brought forward. But she's extremely online to a fault. Okay. Also supporting Israel. Yeah, I'm not going to have this conversation with people who are like, AOC is supporting Israel. Yes, she's voted to fund the Iron Dome. Okay. Is that unacceptable? Absolutely. If every politician maintained AOC's level of smoke for Israel, Israel would no longer exist as a state. Okay. It would not be a state. They would dissolve the apartheid. You understand that? AOC is one of like the 4 congresspersons in the United States of America that has called what Israel is doing a genocide. Please, dude, shut the fuck up. Jesus, Lord mercy, dude. This is not me writing for AOC. This is why I have said I think it's insane, incredibly dumb to ever chirp about Jill Stein, okay? It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous to do that. What are you doing? Like, why are you talking about Jill Stein? What's wrong with you? All you've done now is signal to all these people that hate you, that are calling you a fake progressive, a shill. Now you've given them like a person that they can, galvanize around and act like is like a valid, contender. Like you did the Viktor Orban shit. Okay. That's all you did. You're AOC. She's Jill Stein. Why the fuck are you talking about Jill Stein? It's like when Trump brings up Viktor Orban. You know what I mean? It's like, what? What the fuck do you mean, Viktor Orban? You were the president of the United States of America. Who the fuck gives a shit about Hungary, dude? Are you insane? Like, why? Why are you talking about Jill Stein? Okay? You're a congressperson. Don't do that. You make the most annoying leftist cranks flame up. Okay? It's so stupid. It's literally just like awful political instincts in general. I just don't understand it. I still can't believe how disconnected you are on the anti-genocide message to think it's an elect Jill Stein message. It's not usually you're not doing this brain dead cope takes. If you don't like it, use a giant megaphone to change the movement, to write in a message of choosing and stop crying and moaning about it and do something then. Wait, what? Me? Are you talking about me? I'm disconnected on the anti-genocide message to think it's an elect Jill Stein message? Dude, then don't vote for Kamala Harris. Okay? What are you talking about? If you think that they're going to learn anything, no one gives a rat's ass about Jill Stein. What are you talking about? There's hella people chirping in here about Jill Stein. What the fuck do you mean? Leftists are deeply unserious people. We are watching this unfold once again, over and over again. Anti-genocide voters need a single message right in. Okay, right. I'm anti-genocide then. Write free Palestine then, if you want a single message. Okay? Good luck. Pick one and say it on stream for the next 60 days. Insulin dependent, you have been following me for literally 4 years. You're an active chatter in this goddamn community. Okay? You've been subscribed for 5 months, but I know your name. I recognize it. You talk to me all the time in this chat. How the do you overstate my personal impact on this matter? You've been in here for 2 election cycles now. This is your second one. Do you think that, like, my statements in either direction is going to move the needle? What a ridiculous assessment, dude. People come in here and don't just talk about, like, a vote for Jill Stein is a vote against genocide. They literally ask me what my opinion is on Jill Stein. And if you know anything over the course of your past 4 years, okay, you know that I'm a stubborn piece of shit. And if someone is like, bro, why aren't you taking Jill Stein seriously? I'm going to pop off. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Can you imagine how much shit we get if any third party actually won a state? Why am I supposed to feel like it's normal to have such disdain for any anti-capitalist party? I don't even care if Jill Stein is a grifter. I'm not punching left and she's done something that shows she's a grifter beyond not being in enough local elections. Centralized movements are stronger than diasporic ones, plain and simple. Chowder's an idiot? No, Chowder's an anarchist. If you think my argument for Jill Stein is that she's a grifter because she's not moving in local elections, and not because if you don't have any movement in local elections, you have no power, and you just basically run every 4 years, you're like, what's the thing, the groundhog that just like pops up? What was the name of the groundhog where they're just like the one that comes out and is like, oh, it's going to be a long summer or a long winter? I don't know. That's like Jill Stein. Okay. Puxatony Phil. What a ridiculous name that is. Anyway, it's like that. Okay. Puxatony Phil. It's like every 4 years, it's like, hey, remember me? I'm here. It's like, yeah, if you were actually active in political movements, if you were actually active in electoralism, and you had a base of support, you probably have a better shot at winning a state like that chatter is claiming she's going to. The rest of the vid is a Q&A, by the way. I love that.
I love the country. I want to see the country be great. And we have a real chance of doing it, but it's our last chance. And I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look, as long as you're not voting for Trump, I don't give a f. Vote for Jill Stein. Who cares? Just don't come in here and be like, dude, you're not giving enough credit to Jill Stein for being a bold voice in anti-genocide or some shit. Okay, please stop. I think the greatest thing that Jill Stein presents is like, she gives the otherwise like anti-electoralist leftists, like baby leftists, an opportunity, like an outlet to feel like morally righteous as though they're doing something, in the same way that like every annoying Democrat goes and votes for the Democratic Party and thinks like, this is, you know, I'm doing some revolutionary activity here. Okay. I voted for Kamala Harris and like, we're saving the country. It's literally that, but for like 12 leftists across like every state in the nation. You are giving Jill Stein as much attention compared to Trump and Harris as their poll numbers? No, that's not correct. I've given Jill Stein significantly more attention than her poll numbers deserve. Okay? That's the annoying part, because her supporters are in here chirping at me. And it's like they're not even real supporters of Jill Stein. They just heard about it on TikTok. That's it. Like, they literally just heard about it on TikTok. Like, yeah, go ahead. Vote for her. I'm not going to stop you. You know, I don't care. Lots of lefties on Tumblr were saying exactly that. They think a larger third party vote shows Dems that they misstepped with Palestine without really saying how. No, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Democrats will never learn their lesson. I said this even, guys, before Kamala Harris, I was very openly 10 toes down saying I will never vote for Joe Biden. Okay? That didn't stop me from being honest with you when you asked me about Joe Biden's NLRB or some of the good things that the Biden administration did. And I was like, I'm still not going to vote for him. Now, at the time, people would be like, well, here, what should we do as a protest vote? And I would tell you, like, I don't really give a f. Okay? I don't give a f. I don't care. Do whatever the f you want. I'm not voting for Brandon. Now, not much has changed so far. Okay? Some things changed, but it turns out just like different color of paint, you know? It's like when the landlord comes in and just like paints over all the issues. Same campaign. Nothing will fundamentally change. All that good stuff. So overall, when back then when people were like, we'll teach the Democratic Party a message by not voting. Your vote doesn't matter in California. Bitch, if I was in Pennsylvania, I still wouldn't do it. Okay? Give me a goddamn break. Let me tell you something. That's cowardly. Okay? That's cowardly. That's coward shit. Oh, I'm in California. It doesn't matter. No, f that. So what I'm trying to explain, though, is if you think the Democratic Party is going to learn a lesson, they will not. They will not learn a lesson from your protest vote. They will not care if you vote for them. They will not care if you vote against them. They will not care at all. Okay? They didn't learn that lesson in 2016. They literally went forward with Russia stole the election. It wasn't because of Hill Dog. It wasn't because she was deeply despised. It wasn't because it was an establishment versus anti-establishment election. Like, it just straight up, they did not learn any lessons from that election. Okay? And they will never learn. I'm just letting you know. So do whatever makes you feel good in terms of voting, but don't assume that this is going to magically cause Democratic Party to learn some lesson.
Why are you out here today?
Tired of Democratic Party gaslighting. A vote for Jill Stein is a vote for Trump. They gaslit Bernie Sanders. They said he was a Russian spy.
What do you look for in a girl?
I like Latinas.
You what?
I like Latinas. I like thicker girls.
Based as hell.
Okay, that guy was awesome. I'm voting for Jill Stein now. Good. Let the Democrats lose. If they don't represent the values of the actual left, where the left was 10 years ago, then let the Democrats die. F these sellout Democrats. Okay, dude. Like, this is what I mean. Like, you think you're going to kill the Democratic Party? Okay. Good luck. Yeah, you're going to kill the Democratic Party by being one of the 500 people in your state that voted for Jill Stein. Oh, my God. If somebody came in here with that same energy about Kamala Harris, I shit on them, okay? Just so you know, equal opportunity across the board. People come in here, do the same bullshit about Kamala Harris. They're like, oh, dude, Kamala Harris, like, you don't want to vote for her. You don't understand. She's going to save the nation. It's like, no, she's not. Suck my dick. People who, wait, no, it's not stupid to vote. It's good to vote. I love voting. I'm an advocate for voting. I tell you to vote all the time. I'm just simply saying that you're dumb if you think that, like, your vote is actually changing the outcome of anything. All right, let's continue.
Thanks for listening to this conversation with Donald Trump. To support this podcast, the channel.
Wait, they did an AMA over. Oh, he's done with Trump. I thought Trump was doing a Q&A. Read my last message. The Greens rejected a VP candidate who would join the condition if a ceasefire would reach the Greens would drop out, essentially acting as a vector of pressure. The Greens denied, which kind of showed, again, their unserious nature and selfishness. Wait, what? Oh. You're saying that the Greens rejected a vice presidential candidate who would join on the condition that if a ceasefire would reach the Greens, would drop out. Like, as in, if a ceasefire happened. Oh, you're talking about Noura Erakat, Fauci Tube's sister, right? Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Why is the Democrats suing her off the ballots in every state, bro? How the hell can you vote for that? That literally goes against democracy. Lamau, how is that not even them being threatened? Let's have a real good faith conversation. Wait, what? Threatening the... Dude, they're pieces of shit, the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party are pieces of shit. They're so stupid. They're literally trying to eliminate like 500 voters. I never said that they were good faith. I never said that they care about democracy. If they cared about democracy, they would care about your vote. They would try to win it, okay? They don't. Why do they all think you're voting for Kamala when you literally said the opposite? I think it's probably people who are a little bit, I don't know, misguided.